Well, what the hell? Hey, Gary.
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong, man?
It should be up in the corner there. You should be able to log in.
Well. Okay, truck driver panel discussion from around the world.
So right up in the top right-hand corner should be like where it says, so right where you see truck drivers panel discussion, it should be right up there where you should see where it says edit to log in or link in.
That ain't doing nothing, man.
Looks like you're paired because it's showing paired.
All right.
You look to be paired.
All right. Why not I add my channel?
Hi, Julie.
What in the world? Why ain't I coming on? Add your channel. I did.
It shows here your link or paired in.
Okay. It shows me all the platforms. Okay. It says Kick, Live, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube.
Yep.
Wow, I'll hit on YouTube.
Hey, Lone Star.
Hey, how's it going? I think it's working.
Yeah, I hear you, Lone Star. Yeah, I think you're paired in. Yeah, you're paired in, Ernie. Hello, Tara.
All right. You see me now?
Let me look on YouTube quick here, Ernie.
Oh, let's see your truck still.
Yeah, you're good for right now.
Oh, okay.
So we pull that off.
All right.
Quick here, Ernie.
John 123. Hello. There we go. John's over here too, eh? There's Goat.
Let me see if I can get me down underneath here. How the heck do I do that?
Oh. Tara. Hey, Jim.
Yeah, you're live. That's all I know, Ernie. You're live. Yeah.
Online? Okay.
We're still waiting on Bandit. We're still waiting.
All right. Got that turned down. All right. Yep.
Easy peasy, right, Ernie?
There we go. There we go. Tara, you can do that. Yes.
Hey, Jim, Tara.
Hey, Vicky. Oh, man. Oh. Hi, Shelly.
Hey, George.
I'm down below here.
All right. Why, hello, everybody. We're still waiting for another driver to come in. Lone Star, how you doing today? Oh, we did have a voice there with him. We did.
Is it working?
Yeah, I hear you,
Yeah.
Lone Star. I hear you.
Yeah. I'm just wasting time on a Saturday. That's about it.
Yeah. Where are you at today?
Oh, I'm at home today.
Oh, nice. Home time is always good.
Yeah. Home time is always good. I've been spending more time in the truck shop these days more than anything, so I like that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, most definitely.
I truly know how that is. It sucks being at a repair shop all day long.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky the company owns one. That's what I went to school for, so that I get paid better. I get paid
Right.
better to work on them than to drive. So I'm like, I'll take
Right.
your money.
Right. Well, welcome in everybody that joined us today. Deb's Crazy Daily, NT, Lynn, Faith by Sight. Good to see you. Many of you that we haven't seen in a very, very, very long time. George, Vicky 1, Jim, Tara, John 123. Mike, welcome in. They're still kind of waiting for one driver to come in here, but he's been having issues. So, Lynn, how's the weather by you? We're good until winter storm hits tomorrow. Yeah, we just got hit with that snow yesterday. So, gosh, waiting for that crap to get out of here.
Yeah, I always say trucking around the world's interesting because, like in Canada, in Canada, we have the Canadian law, we got the U.S. law, and depending on where you run, is
Right.
what laws actually apply to you. So it's kind of interesting.
Right. And that's one reason why I wanted to have the discussion with people from around the world. We're still waiting on IRL Trucker Bandit to come on in because it's definitely interesting watching his channel. How the laws have really changed around, from where we're used to here in the U.S. And me and Ernie, we kind of know the U.S. laws very well, but we also wanted you to up here too, Lone Star, because so that we know a little bit about what's happening in Canada and the U.K. and stuff. So it's great to have, when we can get everybody together, to take time out of their busy schedule because Us as drivers, we definitely know what our lives are like being on the road, and trying to, take time out for something here. And it's not always easy. And especially when you got drivers from across the around the world that are like 5, 13 or more hours ahead of the time. So it's always hard to kind of figure out when to start a live stream and have those drivers come with us.
Yeah, and I also think too, like the other big thing about it is too is that, is I think people look at the trucking industry and they see what companies are offering for pay, and
Right.
they don't really see what's actually involved with
Mm-hmm.
the whole industry, and it's not just easy money the way that they think.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people that, like, I've been around the industry since I was 14 years old. Right?
Right.
That's where I started in the truck shop, and then I got my license for it when I was 18, because that's the one thing about Canada that differs from the US, where you can drive the whole country at 18 versus the US. You can only do it in the same state at 18 until you reach 21.
Right. Yeah, because years ago when I first started, after I got everything, got my CDL, it's like I was actually hauling manure on the farms, and that's how I basically started. So I was actually hauling a tanker all the time, and go from there.
Yeah, that's like me when I first started. That's basically what I was doing. I was building the roads, like because the roads went from being a 2-lane to a 3-lane, and because you're basically backing up down a side of the road, unloading asphalt into their hoppers. It didn't really matter. Your like hours of service or any of that kind of stuff, because it was construction and all local. So you're staying within it would work out to be like 120-mile radius
Right.
of their station. So then it's like they basically turn around and say, okay, because you're within this,
Okay,
is
Jim.
Right. Yeah, because like when you work on a farm, when I started out, I mean, it was like I was hauling tanker, so we were hauling manure out of a pit, and then we were hauling it right directly out to the field. And I mean, that's where I first started. And there you didn't really have, hours of service there, because like for farm, if it's mainly for farm, you're exempt from hours of service. And the same thing was when I started hauling haylage and silage. I didn't even have hours of service there. I could have just ran nonstop 24 hours a day if I truly wanted to. But when I was doing tanker, I mean, the guy, he was like, oh, tomorrow's always another day. He's like, we're always going to have business. He's like, I'd rather have everybody well rested up and definitely go and basically just go home, relax, and then start a whole new day. So, I mean, but when it comes to hauling haylage, it's not so much a rush job, but for the most part, I mean, if the farmer wants it off quick and then be able to spread manure on afterwards, because a lot of them did it after that, they were able to do it that way. And so it was pretty good. But then when all of a sudden I started advancing my career more and more or less going into, an actual over the road driving career, I mean, it changed everything, because like now you got hours of service you got to follow and everything else. And I started out with a kind of a ELD. It was an ARBOD at that time. So I mean, it's like I was learning how to do logs without doing the paperwork, because I hate doing paperwork.
Yeah. Well, the paperwork sucks, and that's what it was. Like, there's so many different exemptions that people don't realize, because it's like construction, farming, medical is like the three big exemptions for the stuff, depending on what you're doing. So,
Right.
so the big thing during the pandemic was like people go, well, you see a lot of truck wrecks. So I'm like, yeah, because government was turning around and saying, okay, you're exempt from hours of service because you're running hand sanitizer or something like that. And it's like, okay, this makes no sense, because I'm like, you can only drive so many hours safely, no matter how you look at it.
Right.
because no matter how you look at it, you know, driving is mentally exhausting because everything that's involved. Because it's not just you in the truck; it's everybody else you're dealing with on the road at the same time.
Right. Right. You know, that was like the biggest thing. That was the wake up call for me. And I know many of you for the first time when you got into the truck and started out as like my first trip was down into Kentucky. And I was sitting there thinking, it was like, oh yeah, you know, it's like we'll get down there, we'll unload, get something, come on back. Well, then all of a sudden it's like I had the realization, it's like when that clock was going down and winding down to my last hour, it's like I finding a spot to park, because at that time I was able to park there, but it was like, okay, well, we'll get there, we'll walk, check in, we'll get unloaded, get our next load, we'll start heading back. We'll be home by early morning. Well, here's the realization of that. That don't happen. People were thinking nowadays that this is a 9-to-5 job, and it's not even a 9-to-5 job. This is a working around the clock kind of a job in trucking.
No, that's basically what it is. Is because you're basically given these hours, and
Yep.
it's basically your loads are basically wanted there between the hours of service and when they want it, and that's what it is. It's a 24-hour job because you're always responsible for the trucks.
Yep.
And it's also, the other issue is like everybody's safety department all has a different rule depending on what's an emergency and what's not. Because it's like you pull into a truck stop, there's no parking. What the hell are you going to do? Park in the middle of the road? No,
Right.
it's called you kind of got to drive the half an hour down the road,
Right.
or right, and then or it's like you got 20 minutes left and you see, okay, there's a Flying J here. Now all of a sudden you go in that Flying J, there's no spots, and it's like they expect you to like pull over on the side of the freeway and park. Well, I'm like, you can't do that because it's not
Right.
safe. You know, I've seen too many trucks be rear-ended from stuff like that.
Right.
It's never good to park on the get off, but to get on, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
and they get up.
they're going up to speed, you know, but still
But even
dangerous either or.
sometimes, even on the off ramp, you'll see signs no parking on the off ramp, but
Yep.
you won't see signs on the on ramp.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we do here in Michigan. We've got the signs out there too, but they don't follow them. They'll still park anyway.
Right.
No, that's my point. Is people don't realize what's all involved and the risk, and they just do it.
Yeah. Well, down our street where I work at, they're even parking right up directly on the street now.
Right.
Yep.
Because because the truck stops full right here. You know where exit 15 is, Gary. Here, you might even too if you know where.
Yeah.
15 on 75 is here in Monroe.
Yeah.
Michigan.
Yeah. I've driven most of the U.S. Like I've driven Alaska. I've driven every U.S. state other than Hawaii.
Yeah,
you know,
we got a little small pilot, and we got a big, travel centers of America, but they get filled up fast.
That's what I'm saying.
They'll go back in that industry where I work at, where I pull out of, and they'll park right in the street. They don't care.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is the truck stop parking is limited.
Yeah, it is.
A lot, and a lot of companies use the truck stop parking lots as switch yards. Mm-hmm. So there's trailers. So there's trailers parked there, clogging your parking spots, and then you're paid. And then they do the paid parking thing, and then everybody turns around and it's just a scam.
How they can come up with that paid parking. That's just total BS, I think.
Yeah, it is, because I mean, it's like the TA. There's some truck stops. Literally, almost every space is paid parking.
It is paid parking, yes. Especially that one over there off of 55 down there. It's a Petro. Almost every spot, or TA, I can't remember which one. Almost every spot is paid parking.
Right. Right.
So back when I was running hard over the road, back before they come up with that ELD, I had spots all over the United States I had parked, and that's where I would not tell nobody about my spots, because I want to keep that spot for me.
Yeah.
And normally a lot of times too, for us, I mean, like, when I'm hauling, I mean, we usually have places in between there where we deliver at. And we usually know where we can park. So, I mean, if it's not a truck stop or a rest stop or something, it's like we had all our other alternatives where we could actually park at. But I mean, it's like you don't want to give your spot up, because sooner or later some other company guy takes it and it's like, dang it, why the hell did I open my mouth?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And then a lot of shippers now too, they'll say, "Oh, you can't park here.
Yeah,
You
Right.
yeah,
you,
that's
you, you
true.
can't park here. You can't
Uh-huh.
leave a trailer here." So it's like, okay, it's like okay, my company says I gotta go from here to here, and you get X amount of hours of service. You got X amount left, and it's like the guy's like, well, it's going to be 4 hours to unload your trailer or 4 hours to load, so you end up getting stuck there. It's like the whole everything comes in a truck, and it's the one thing that people fail to realize. Without trucks,
Yep.
everything would stop.
They need to do more like what Indiana's done, build those parking spots just for trucks only. I think
Hmm.
Tennessee's got a few of them too, trucks only, where you can park.
Yeah, they
Not
Yeah,
do. And I think it's
not
like
facilities,
40,
you know. Yeah,
40,
yeah,
or
yeah,
no, 40 or 20. It's going out further out towards the east. They have some of those that are just for trucks only.
yeah.
yeah.
Indiana's
They got
got a few of them.
yeah, they got a few of them. It's like the 81, even like in upstate New York, they've got a few of them where the DOT guys will go through them and they'll say, "Hey, you're not in the truck, get out." And the same thing here, like even Canada. That's the one thing I like about it is like we've got the scales, and out the back of the scales, you can park a truck, and if a car parks in there, they'll turn around and tow them because they'll say, "Well, hey, this is for trucks. Trucks is what moves everything."
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, some places, some of the ones here in the United States, you can park at inside the scale houses, but then some they'll block her that like Ohio, they'll block the scales where you can't get in there to go park. You know.
Yeah, I know, yeah, and that's the whole thing about it is, and that's why I think there's so many like issues, and
Uh-huh.
that's why there's so many people that get out of the industry, and then it makes it harder for everybody in there because the experienced drivers are are hard to come by, and it's the experienced drivers that actually understand everything about it.
Exactly.
These guys that come out of truck school, 90% of them they fail on their first year because they'll turn around and say, "Well, I can't handle this."
Oh yeah. Right. Right.
Well, like a lot of the people that go into the school, I mean, it's like the tech school here, Fox Valley Technical College, in the transportation department. Let's say you get 100 people that actually go to the school and get their CDLs. Only probably 25-30% of them that wanted to do the over the road, where everyone thought, oh, well, this is a 9 to 5 job, until they get the reality, like I did back then. A lot of them usually leave out of the trucking industry and go to something like maybe dump truck or garbage hauling or whatever else. And there's probably only 25 out of the 100 that will actually stay into the trucking.
Yeah, well, it's like here, the whole country basically has a job retraining program, and basically it's the same thing. So through like the tech schools that are truck training academies, you can basically get 100% paid for it by the government. That's $15,000 to $20,000 with nothing asked. So all these guys go through it and they figure, well, hey, I'm going to be a trucker, and this is going to be a 9 to 5 job, and then they come realize, well, I have to go to a starter company and put in my time before I can even get something that's a 9 to 5 local, if you're
Right.
lucky enough.
Yeah, because usually the most senior drivers, they'll usually get those jobs first. Now, if somebody that's a rookie can get very lucky to get a job like that, but mainly, it seems like in the industry, you got to earn your ranks before you actually get a lot of those jobs. Because, like for me, I always wanted to stay busy, but I also wanted to be able to, um, make good money and everything else. But like, there's certain jobs that I did know. A lot of people know that I was in expedited. A lot of drivers hated us for expedited because it was like we have priority out of those that are waiting. And then there was times that we bumped people out of the dock because ours was an absolute need product, and basically go from there. So, I mean, it's like when it was an expedite, it was great. It was great money. But the bad thing was being married to your phone nonstop. I could not handle that anymore.
No, well, the thing about it is that the older you get, the more you have a life outside of the job, and you've got responsibilities outside of the job. So
Right,
it's like getting into it as an 18, 19-year-old kid. You don't have a wife at home 90%. You don't have kids. You don't have hobbies. It's fine. But
right.
but 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 you get it as a middle-aged guy that worked in the factory all of his life, and he got laid off, and he gets into it. It's a shocker because he's got 2 or 3 kids at home. He's got a house. He's got everything to take care of, and it's a big difference. So it's like you're sitting there balancing either wages or home time. It's like you can't have both. But then
Right.
when you got 20 years in, it's like, okay, the companies, you can say to a company, well, hey, I don't want to drive there. And they'll say, okay, fine, we'll give you this instead, because they know if you say go fly a kite, company B will give you a job tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah,
Now, for
it's
some of
nice.
you that have been in it the longest, well, Ernie and Lone Star, how many years you got in?
So I started when I was 18, so I'm 35 now. So I got about 17 years in it.
Okay, you got 17 years. I got about 24 years. Ernie, how about you?
God, I started back in 1987. It's time.
So
No, I
you've got a lot of years, and we'll count it.
just live that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you know, maybe a lot of you, Ernie, you probably remember, and Lone Star, you'll probably remember. It's like when you first started, basically after you got the keys, and it's like, well, here's your bills, here's your keys. You got to be here tomorrow or whatever else. So, you know, it's like we were like basically thrown under the bus when it came to the trucking. That, you know, it's like we had to learn everything as we go. The training that they do a lot of times nowadays, it's not a lot of training that we as drivers have had to learn. It was basically everything we've had to learn day by day, year by year. And it's what gives us our experience of everything that we deal with today, because like Lone Star, he comes through the US and Canada, so he's got to learn a little more rules than what me and Ernie do, because we don't go to Canada, we don't go to Mexico. So I mean, for you, Lone Star, it's like you're having more demandants on knowing the laws compared to us here in the US.
Yeah. You
For
got to go
some,
through. Yeah. You got
go
to
ahead,
Yeah.
go
Ernie.
through the border.
Yeah. The
Right,
thing about it, you got to go through the border,
Yep.
and to train somebody to go through that border, it's the border's easy as pot. But the thing about it is these guys don't realize you're the border. Basically, you go and you send your bills to a border broker, and
Mhm.
your appointment for your border is already set. So it's basically means if your appointment's at 4 o'clock in the morning, you have to book your hours that you're going through there at 4 o'clock.
You
Because
do.
if you
right,
try to go in there 20 minutes later, you have to turn and rebook, and then your load's late. So then you're lost money, depending if you're owner operator or your company driver, whatever, because your next load that is booked going out of where you're going, you're not going to get.
right,
And then it's also like the hours of servicing too, because like one of the U.S. mandates is basically um, if you're going to enter the U.S. from either Canada or Mexico, you have to be running under U.S. hours of service. So countries like Mexico, there's no hours of service. If you want to drive a truck 24 hours a day there, you can.
right,
And that's the reason why in the southern US on the Mexican border, there's a lot of trading centers that are halfway in Mexico and halfway in the US. And they'll turn around and put an American truck on one side and a Mexican truck on the other. And a pallet guy will move stuff back and forth with a customs officer in the middle.
yep. That's what we call cross docking.
Yeah. But it's like extreme crosstalk, because normally in cross docking you don't have a border agent in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and there were customs in between the middle too, as well with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's like an interesting fact, which I don't think a lot of people realize.
No, because I know one of the last few trips that I did as an expedited was doing a cross border going into Mexico, and I mean it's like we tried to get there early, and it's like nope, the appointment time's set the way it is. The other truck is going to be here at the same time. That's the way it is. It's like we're not going to unload it and leave the product on the dock until that other truck. So, unfortunately for us, I mean we got paid for the layover for that, but yeah, it was a cross docking that was down in Brownsville, Texas, and the other truck was there right away. So it came off of ours, went on the other truck, boom, we were gone. That was it.
Yep.
But it
Yeah,
takes
but
forever to get our
yeah,
paperwork.
yeah, Laredo, they do the same thing in Laredo, Texas. They do the same thing in a lot of these things. And that's what people don't realize. Like U.S. is one of the most complicated countries when it comes to trucking because U.S. laws are taken a lot more seriously, which is the one thing that I commend the U.S. for. It's just the big problem is the federal part of it looks too much like too much to California. It doesn't set the laws for the other states.
Right.
And that's the whole reason why now, like a lot of the bigger companies now, they're basically setting up in surrounding states, basically cross dock facilities where the California drivers go on one side and the other guys that run the other states go on the other.
Right.
Because to try to avoid it, but that's probably a subject not to talk about. But it's just interesting.
Right. No, I don't know. There was a few weeks ago, and you probably know this, Lone Star, maybe not. We actually had a driver that was doing a load that was going into Canada, but it wasn't actually going into Canada. It was actually coming in by the bridge there, just north of in Detroit, and it was dropping off there. But apparently he couldn't drop it off because they said that the border was closed at that time because something about that the product wasn't inspected.
Yep, because basically it's basically the same thing, right? It's basically because there is some companies that will drop off in Michigan, for example, at the Blue Water Bridge.
Yeah.
That's just like an example. I know there's a couple other crossings, but like there's one in the Sarnia, there's one in the Windsor, and it's basically that's what it is. It's basically because if you're hauling meat out of the U.S., if it's not inspected meat, or the inspection labels or the inspection paperwork is not proper, they won't allow it through because they'll basically say you're importing something you shouldn't. And it's the same thing with the U.S. with products coming from Canada.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's the
because I
reason.
know that driver had to come all the way back and messed up his backhaul, and he brought it all the way back to Green Bay. And
Yeah, because
so,
the same thing happens too. Like in Detroit, like people that are or like the Detroit. I say Detroit, but it's like Michigan. Like you got Ann Arbor, you got the auto plants, you got Dearborn, you got the Ford. It's the same thing. It's like there's trucks that are basically set on dedicated routes that basically haul into the automotive sector, and that's basically what it is. All these loads are the same way. They're pre-approved to go across the border each way.
right.
Your hazmat's got to go across on a barge.
Yeah, the hazmat's got to go across on the barge, or it can go on the truck, but they're basically only given a certain amount of hours. They basically say between this hour and this hour, the early morning's the only time we can go through.
Yeah,
And yeah.
Yeah, we had batteries that had to go across, and they would only let it go across on the barge.
Yeah, that too. But that too, and that's what it is. It's like that's why I say, you know, like the interstate or is one thing. The intercountry is a totally different thing, and that's why it's interesting to talk about. But you could talk about it for hours.
Right. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of us can come up with a lot of good stories over the years that we've been driving, because I always remember one guy always saying, it's like, if you think you always see something and you think you've seen it all,
No.
something will topple the rest of it.
See everything.
Something with all the rest of it. It's like I remember like a lot of times like the one factory that we've got nearby that I'll haul out of makes airbag yarn and carpet yarn and clothing yarn for the different automotive sector, and they'll turn around and they'll have loads going to like Chicago O'Hare Airport. It's the same thing because they're going to the Middle East or they're going to Japan by the planes and stuff like that. Because the one thing that North America, like U.S. and Canada, has that Mexico and the Asian countries don't have is we can make a good quality raw product that we can sell to the world.
Right.
And that's why there's so many government issues, because the government doesn't realize how much power as countries we actually have. Not that I'm trying to get into politics, but I'm just saying that
Oh,
as a statement.
isn't all of trucking politics?
Yeah, that's all of trucking is politics. That's one of the reasons why I brought that up.
Yeah.
It's just
No
like Will
worries.
Burner.
Trust me, there's definitely politics that we talk every once in a while on my channel, and I, it's like what I said. Everything in trucking is always politics. Whether you got California intervening on how trucks are made, DEF. I mean, do we all like putting DEF in our trucks? No.
That
No.
shit smells.
that shit smells, because if you look at it, if you look at DEF, your raw product from DEF is the same raw product that makes fertilizer.
Is
Right.
it now?
Right.
Yeah, it's urea. It's basically
Almost.
it's basically urea, and it's actually water. It's basically highly filtered water, and that's what DEF is.
Right.
Okay.
And then it's basically just a chemical process. It's like the one guy, like he's on YouTube, Wheel Burner Express. He'll sit there and he'll talk to me for hours about this stuff. Sometimes I'm like,
Yeah, he's
'cause
on here now.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's on here now. He says he's done 33 years Canada and U.S. He says he's seen it all though.
Yeah, he's seen it all.
You never see it all.
Well, I tell you what, I thought I seen it all until like last week. I think it could have been like a couple of weeks ago. I was out there on I-80 going eastbound over to Youngstown early in the morning, seeing a day cab, 53 footer down in the ditch going the opposite way.
Yeah, but I think about it is like up here, like I've seen trucks blow off of like the Skyway Bridge, trucks blow off of the Blue Water Bridge, trucks blow off of the Thousand Islands crossing that's going in upstate New York because of the high winds. It's like, holy crap.
It don't take much to blow one off.
No, it don't take much, and especially if they're not loaded. So like there've actually been bans for empty trucks.
Yeah, I know. There was one time I was coming back up from Green Bay there. We had those high winds there, and I was probably less than, like they say, within the last 20 miles of your trip. That's when usually an accident happens. And all of a sudden, I think it was like 15, 16 mile an hour winds that I had with an empty trailer. Now, I had the axle slid all the way back just so I, try to keep some weight back there. But all of a sudden, going down the highway, we're coming up I-43, and next thing you know, I felt the trailer just like and slam down, and it's like, dang, I almost had to change my drawers right there and on the spot.
Then wait till they make you haul trailers with like the California trailer tails, because the wind blows off them like sails. Everybody thinks that they're helping. They make it 10 times worse, because the wind catches it depending on which angle you're on, and it'll blow it all over the place.
And the funny thing is like now a lot of the fuel tankers, you'll see that kind of like where they got the side skirts on them, but it's like with those tankers and some of the flatbeds, they got a greater advantage, but at least because the wind can kind of go over it or underneath it, and they don't have to worry about it being like a big old brick being blown across the road.
That's why I like that low boy I was running.
Yeah,
running trucks, but that's hard work.
It's hard work, but they and people don't realize what's involved with stuff like that either. But no, it's like but that's what it is. But the thing about it is because the trucking industry's changed from being owner operator based to big corporations. So the owners of the companies see, I'm going to save half a mile per gallon. Woohoo! All of a sudden now I'm saving $1 million a year.
Right.
And it's kind of like crazy when you think about it, but it's the reason why I say people as owner operators or experienced drivers have to stick together on these issues, because you're the one that holds the power.
But you can't get them all to stick together. That's the problem.
No, that is the problem. That is the number.
That's a big problem, because they don't care no more.
No, they don't care no more. It's
not really so much they really care, I think. It's just that the fact is and this is what I've grasped from a lot of other drivers, they're more or less worried about feeding their family than changing the rules, to make it fair for everybody later on down the road.
Yeah, well, I've only got like 6 more years, thank God.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about it is because you basically say something to a company owner, And like a good friend of mine, his girlfriend, her dad owns a company in Toronto that runs Canada US, right? And he'll ask me a question about something, and I'm like, what answer do you want? Do you want the honest answer, or do you want the political answer? Because the honest answer and the political answer is two different things.
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends on which way you want to go about it, and what you actually want to hear, because it's basically what it is. It's basically you invested your life as an owner operator into this truck. That has to pay your bills
Right.
till your retirement fund builds up, or until somebody gives you a better offer to do something else.
Right.
Once you reach a certain age, it's like, I don't want to start over again.
Yeah, I know. Like a few years ago, when it was getting really rough, um, I've had the company president basically come up and approach me, and it's like, we're willing to hire you on as a company driver, because things are getting bad. Because we at one point in time, it was getting bad for us. And I mean, with the Godmother truck that we had, it was mainly in the shop more than what it was on the road. Within the first couple years that we had that truck, I mean, we spent 40,000 real easily into that truck between injectors, turbo, transmission, differential, rear end. I mean, that builds up quick. And I mean, the president said, well, we'll hire you on as a company guy. And it's like, no, what for? It's like, then I basically got to do what you got to tell me to do. And it's just like, we'll make it through it. We eventually did. But it's like, I guess it was the pride that, because, when times get down there, you as a person will say, okay, we can do this, we can hold off for a little bit, or it comes to a point that you say, no, we can't do this anymore, and maybe it's the best way to go. But I mean, luckily for us, we were able to keep going and not have to become a company driver once again.
Yeah, it's that. Well, it's that, and it's also too the fact that, as an owner operator versus a company driver, you also have more level of leverage, because the owner operators, you have a lot more choice of saying, well, hey, I don't want to run these states. These are the states I will run. This is the loads I will run. This is what I'm willing to do. Versus a company driver, they're basically said, well, here's your keys, here's your wheels, have at it.
Right.
And
make sure you're there by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you get. Or you look at a trailer and you'll be like, well, hey, this trailer's got 3 bad tires. I ain't gonna pull this with my truck. Get tire guy out here, or give me a different trailer. Whichever
Right.
one you want to do. Versus the company guys, you're pretty much screwed.
Right.
And that's why one of the big arguments for some people would be, it's like, do you want to own a trailer, or do you want to do drop and hook, or live unloading, or live loading? It's like the benefits involved to each one.
Sometimes you will have those options. Now, like with me, during the week, could I be facing a drop and hook? Sometimes. Is there live unloads? Everybody knows. I mean, in trucking, we always do what we call the waiting simulation game. Just sit there and wait. Like Ernie was doing trucks before. I don't know, Ernie, if you were able to go in at various times during the night to unload trucks, if you could, to benefit yourself for the next day or not.
Sure could. They'd give us the combinations to these places, and we'd be able to go in and drop these trucks. And then we'd head up to our next place to go load. Down Laredo, I had to wait on them trucks to come across the border. And once they were there, I had to wait for at least about another hour. And about that time, it's smoking hot, and you're trying to load them trucks on top of each other. And oh man, that was a hard job. Good God.
That had to be fun when basically loading up trucks, because I know when I seen you over in Dexter when we met, I think you still, I don't think you had trucks on board, but I thought you did, but I can't remember. But I mean, it's like piggybacking them up on the frame of another truck. I wish we had some footage of that because I probably would have showed everybody how that would look. But I mean, it's like
Yeah,
that would be
they
something that you
Yeah.
have to do.
they told me to
Yeah.
keep that secret. I couldn't take no videos or nothing because of that.
Yeah, they pretty much keep it a secret how they do that stuff. And it's the same thing as like the wreckers that unload them because like I worked international dealership from when I was like 14 years old till I was 18. That's how I ended up with my CDL. And then it's like, well, I love these trucks. I want to try and go drive one. But it's like,
I can
but
tell you
it's
guys how to do it though.
yeah. I say I could tell somebody how to do it, but it's like
Yeah.
it's a heavy guarded secret. And that's why even the wrecker companies that unload those trucks, they're basically all pre-booked, and basically only certain people touch it.
Yeah, what we did is we used them aluminum ramps. We had to, basically put them onto the drive tires, and what we'll do is we'll drive up onto the drive tire. Then we had this brace where we'd put in between the front axle frame and let it drop down on that axle frame, and then it would run up because
Yeah,
we were on like little grooves. Yeah, you could run them up the rail, the truck that you're going on top of. And then once you got it on there, it set it at the height that you need. When you take your ramps and put them on the next tire, and it was a vicious cycle.
it's a
Yeah,
vicious
a lot
cycle.
of up and down.
That's what it
I know,
is. It's quite the thing.
That's where Ernie said it was a lot of hard work
a lot of
because I
hard
mean,
work,
it's
man.
like you definitely
Yeah,
earned your money for that.
yeah.
Oh,
You are.
that's pretty good money. 3 loads. If I can get 3 loads in a week, I was making everywhere close to $3,000 a week.
Yep. They pay good money. It's like heavy hauling. It's like you take three loads. You take 3 loads of aluminum bars to a mill
Hmm.
or aluminum coils a week. You can make. Uh, Mind you, this is Canadian, so probably the exchange would be the same thing. You know, $3,000 to $5,000 US a week you could make, but it's
No,
also what you expend.
you don't need a diploma. I've got my uh, GED.
No, you don't even need a diploma as
You
long
don't
as
even
you're
need
of
a
age.
GED now to get a.
Yeah.
No, as
The
long as
way
you're of
the industry
age.
is getting nowadays, no, you don't need a diploma.
No, you don't need.
Uh,
They're
no,
begging for drivers right now.
they're begging for drivers. It's just the big thing about like what I say to people. If you're going to get into the industry, you, if you're in the States, you take the state lottery
think,
grants.
think the only
You,
thing you don't. I don't think the only thing is you can't have a felony.
yeah, you basically just can't have a felony or a criminal record.
Yeah,
And you can't have stuff like DUI and stuff like that. Like you basically just have to have a
clean driver's record. Yeah.
clean driver's record,
Mhm.
a clean criminal record, unless it's for something minor. And the companies will basically say, okay. It's just I say to people, it's like go through your tech schools, go through your things because your major problem with the industry is that when you sign up for a company to get your license, you're basically signing a contract where you're doing what they want for 2 to 3 years of your life.
Yep.
I think there's only one company that'll hire a felon, and I think it's Western Express.
Yeah, there is, but I just wasn't trying to name names because
That or Swift.
yeah, Swift
I
will
don't
too.
think Swift does. I
They're
don't think Swift
self-funded. They can do that.
does.
Swift can do it because
Really?
because it's basically Swift, Schneider, Western
They're
Express
self-insured.
are all self-insured, and it's
Self-insured. That's why they can do
and
it.
it's so they could do it, and it's basically it's the same thing. Same thing. Like if you own a fleet in the U.S., you basically you can basically choose to be self-insured, public insured, or like use like an insurance broker, insurance agency, or you can choose to do captive insurance. And depending on which one you pick, is a totally different circumstances of what you're allowed to do.
That's right. That's why Swift usually ends up with all the accidents they get into. They just pay them out. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's basically what it is. It's just I just try not to name drop on anybody because I'm like, you
Yeah.
never know who's lurking or
Right. Yeah, that's
who's
why
gonna report or cause a headache.
yeah, no doubt about that.
Well, it ends up happening. I mean, it's the reality is out there. I mean, people post
Yeah,
pics, so you know what? They can say what
I
they want. In
appreciate
my
yeah.
it,
opinion.
Super Salty.
Yeah, no. People do shit like that, and that's why I try to put it just straight and to the point instead of getting too in depth on stuff like that. Is for that
Exactly.
reason.
Yeah, no
Exactly.
doubt. No doubt. Yeah, that's
That's
why
more what I meant.
when this gig came up there, I don't want to interfere, but when this gig came up to run local, um, I took it. I'm driving local now. It's stress free. I do 3 or 4 stops a day. I run local. I run into Ohio over in Youngstown, which is 400 miles round trip, and then I do Michigan, which is 500 and a little over 500 miles a trip. And couldn't ask for anything better. I don't have to put up with that headache trying to find a place to park, and what you guys do now. And I feel for you. I mean, I was out there doing the same thing, running hard and trying to find a place to park. Especially with all them trucks on there. And well, it got to where we were allowed in some places, where we could stay the night, and then we got unloaded. It's like all over there in Baltimore, Maryland, loading up them vans. We could spend the night there, but you just couldn't say it. What we're doing. Just go ahead and just do it.
Yeah,
Right.
because one of these things where even like some of the U.S. ports I've been to, some of them will say, "Okay, you're hauling this, which is special because you're hauling a fire truck or something." So here, we didn't see nothing, but you can sit here and park.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore did that. Seattle did that quite often.
Mm-hmm.
A few of the other ones, and it's like a couple of them in Texas, and it's like, okay, this is interesting. Even Canada, like we got ports in Toronto, we got ports in Halifax, Vancouver, Nova Scotia, same thing, because it all depends on who you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of these things where it's looked at depending on who you know.
Yeah, that's why I always
Right.
went up to the people and I talked to them, and tried to get real good with all the places I, delivered to, and see where I could stay out, what's close. Always bugged their ear.
That's basically what I say. It's like always bug your ear, and the same thing even like with shippers, receivers.
Hmm.
Always be polite and friendly
Oh yeah, yeah.
because your shippers and receivers will remember your face,
Oh
That's
sure.
right.
and when you need a favor,
Uh-huh.
if once you've done them well enough times, they'll turn around and do you a favor
Always,
because they want to see the same guy coming over and over again.
always
If you're
talk
gonna,
golf. Always talk
yeah,
golf because 3/4 of them like playing golf.
But
yeah,
here's one of the bad things. It's like, okay, you might do good for them, but then all of a sudden another driver will come in there, empty out literally all his trash out on their parking lot, which ends up usually spoiling it for the guys
That's
that actually stay
yes.
there.
That's what irks me the freaking most, especially the backside of these truck stops now. I mean, they're just not taking care of them. They don't care. They've got a great big bin up there. Why can't you walk? I've seen guys do a whole bags of stuff out there on the driveway.
yeah. I was like the three.
What was that?
Three. No. I was saying it's like you see like trucks working on them. Some of the guys will cut holes in the floors to throw their garbage out. It's like what the hell?
Yeah. Do more
Right.
than that. Some of these truck stops smell like just,
Yeah,
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Because
Because you
like
just don't want to walk in.
there was the one day that we were heading to Michigan, and Lynn knows, and a couple of the others that were following us that day. We stopped in Michigan there. We stopped at that Love's that has the Hardee's, and we got out, and all of a sudden I come back and I look down ditch, and it's like it's all layered across. It's like with garbage. I'm like, Jesus Christ! It's like that's why people after a while, it's like when they put the reserve parking in there, maybe what they should do is like make sure if there's garbage behind there after they leave, they've got all their information, charge them
Yeah.
for all that garbage,
Yeah.
because there's no reason why that should be like that.
No, a lot of them throwing what they had in the back of the trailer right out there. They're just sweeping it right out there. Not a care in the world.
Yep,
I
and
saw
that's
the
the thing
guy
about
doing it.
it.
I'm like, look, are you going to leave that there? Screw you. Really? Okay. Write their name down. I took it in, gave it to the people.
Right.
They walked out there and made them clean it up. Sure did. He didn't
Yeah,
like it
because
though.
we see pallets, we see load bars, we see
Tires,
miscellaneous. I've even seen
jugs
somebody's
of jugs of yeah.
rejected product out there. It's like, man,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like for a lot of the rejected product we bought, I mean, it was either Hostess, uh, Ho-Hos or something else. I mean, I'd load it in the truck if they didn't want it. I'd load it in the truck. all of a sudden it's like we got the food pantry right down here. They know me by name. I've taken so much stuff there by them already. It's like they know me by first name.
Yep, I used to.
It's
Yeah, I
just
used
like
to
what
get.
Wheelburner's saying here. He's saying, why do we think about Walmart? Walmart. Because we've ruined that too.
Yep.
Getting the park at Walmart's because they're throwing stuff out.
Yeah,
Yep.
because that's basically what it is. It's basically back in the day, everybody could park at a Walmart or a big chain like that, and
Yeah.
they didn't care. But then all of a sudden, everybody just used them like a dump.
Mhm.
And once you turn around and use them like a dump, do you really want to do you really blame a company for not wanting to pay for maintenance
You
to
can't.
clean up? You can't.
Because it costs them.
And it's even like me, I've hauled out of like Walmart, blah blahs and that kind of stuff, and they'll and they'll literally have trucks sitting there with. But that's a good thing about up here is that they'll basically take the rejected product and load up the trailers, and the trailers will go to the food pantries because
That's right.
because
Can't blame
something
Walmart.
got busted open or something like that. Even and Walmart and stuff like that does it. A lot of people talk crap about them. Well, I'm like, it's good to see that they actually are giving back. Because versus there's other food places where they'll basically put everything in a dumpster. It's like, geez, what a waste for all the hungry people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like they could easily just, give it to a food pantry. That's all they'd have to do.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like we've got a food pantry right up there near Green Bay, not far from our yard. We've got one down here in Appleton, and it's like, but the one up in Green Bay, I can actually pull into their dock and drop stuff off if I need to. But the one here in Appleton, I got to unload it either out of the truck or the trailer to put it on the back of a pickup or a car and drive it over there. So,
Yeah,
I mean, that's one of the good things.
I remember having to do that one time. I had 4 skids of baby zucchini and squash. Couldn't get rid of because it was, but I just happened to be talking one day, talking there at the truck stop, and the lady goes, well, I got cows and pigs. Can I have it? You can have all of it. I'll even help you load it.
Yep.
yep,
As long as it's going somewhere and actually being, instead of just
Yeah.
going into a landfill,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like the first option that I always try is always make sure it goes to a food pantry. It's like our dispatch, they're usually pretty good at trying to find a food pantry in the area. And we usually always give it to them first. That is usually always our very first top priority there first before it just ends up going in a garbage or anywhere else.
yeah. Well, it's important, and I think. Well, I think that's what the other issue is. It's that you see games like American Truck Simulator, and people think, well, trucking's like American Truck Simulator, and I'm like, nah, I've logged like 4 million miles on the game, and it's like the game. Some of it is real, like the routes and stuff like that are real,
Yep.
but everything else is totally
No.
made up. No,
That's the kicker when it comes to those that play ATS. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this huge money. It's like, ATS really needs to get into the reality of a lot of things. So if ATS company is actually listening to our live stream, you guys are gonna have to take some notes because the payouts that these drivers get for some of these loads, that's not the
oh yeah,
reality for us in the
oh
trucking
yeah, oh
world.
yeah. It's like me. I've done in the game. I've done like loads from like Bangor, Maine to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, paying like 200 grand. And it's like if you did that in a real truck, I'd pay like $2,000
Right,
if you're
right.
lucky.
Well, hey, Queen, good to see you. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these things that like ATS does, it's just like I'm like, if I was probably like the actual owner of ATS, I would actually, the way that the standards is, if there's a way they can link that into the game, and I think there probably is. That all of a
There
sudden,
is, but with ATS, you have to keep in mind that ATS and ETS is basically SCS software. SCS software makes a lot of the training rigs that a lot of trucking companies and trucking schools buy for their training their
yep,
students or training their
yep,
drivers. So
yep,
it's basically what it is. It's basically a side hustle, and it's
right,
basically the whole game is basically funded by different trucking companies,
Mhm.
like there's Swift that puts money into it, Schneider,
Yeah.
just UPS, Packard puts a lot of money into it, and that's the reason why if you pay attention to that game, you'll see like the T680 Next Gen was at it. You know, that's why the Packard facility was added in Washington is somebody to go there and sit there and test trucks because it's a legitimate thing.
Right.
And it's basically that facility basically ended up because it's under Vancouver or British Columbia, but I just say Vancouver because it's a major city. And Packard ended up buying out back in the 80s one of the Canadian manufacturers that built a lot of the old trucks.
Right.
But that's the problem but it's like you never see hours of service. You don't see everything that a trucker deals with every single day. But people just think because I can play this game, I can drive a truck, and it's like, nah.
Well, we've
And a
got
lot
two.
of people will be on there, so like for us, a 14-hour day, that's a very long day.
Don't even do it.
We've done a 18-hour live stream, was 18, 19-hour, I think it was our absolute top. And that was just sitting there waiting, and it was like, I think we barely had I think it was like barely 84 miles for the day, that one day there when we did almost an 18, 19-hour live stream because most of it was waiting. And it was like, dang, it's like, but like those that play the ATS, I mean, it's like they don't take a break after 11 hours. Some of them might be running a 24-hour gaming thing, and it's just like, it's kind of bad when you're kind of doing that and you're not really following the laws of hours of service by then.
And we got a switcher there at our plant that they just recently picked up, and I had to go over like a fine tooth comb because I've done that also too in my career, ran a switch yard. But anyway, they said, well, we got two truck drivers. We want to have you go out there and try them out, test them. I said, okay. They're supposed to be truck drivers, right? I don't know where they learned how to back up because neither one of them could back up. So now I said, they're supposed to be truck drivers. That's what they told you, right? And I said, yeah. Well, I said, well, neither one of them can back up. I said, you want your stuff tore up? I said, I don't know. Well, can you train them? I said, really? I said, we'll pay you for it. Well, what are you going to pay me then? Because this goes against my on-duty time. You know that, right? I said, anytime I'm out there training, I said, all that time going against my 60-hour rule. I said, how long do you want me to train these guys a day? So I'm doing it for about an hour. I just,
Yeah.
I want some hands up in there, man. I ain't got time for that, really.
So between Ernie and Lone Star, and I know I can vouch for this, how many times in your career that you were ever approached to back up a truck for somebody else?
No, it happens all the time. They couldn't even put a number on it because a lot of these guys is what it is. Like, it's what it is. It's like I went in. I went out the one day because I was bored. I went out and did the licensing testing, and it's basically the licensing testing agents that are hired by states or the provinces. A lot of them have never been a trucker in their life. A lot of them, they all they have is a passenger car vehicle, and they're sitting there examining a car because it's basically a test that they can write in their state or province in order to be an examiner. So there's a big difference between getting, an old school trucker that's done 20 years on the road, or a 20-year-old stay-at-home mom that does the job per time to evaluate the trucker and how he's doing.
Myself, probably a couple times I've only done it, and it was female drivers because they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of drivers. What I see is they're not being trained correctly, okay? Especially when you're trying to back one into a tight spot. They've got their tandem sled all the way forward. And that's a no-no. I mean, I know they got it set, but count your holes.
That's a no-no. That's a no-no.
What's that?
That's a no. Like because people slide the tandems all the way back, and then they can't turn the trailer.
Yeah,
So
they
one of the
slide
things,
them
if
panels all
they,
the way to the back.
Yeah, and
one of the problems that, if you've got your axles, slid all the way up, people fail to realize there's that much swing on the
Yep.
trailer that could actually hit the trailer, because they're more or less looking at the trailer trailing. They're not looking at the back of the trailer of what
No.
could be. So if you got a line and you're bringing it back in a trailer in there, it's got to be equal with the line. Normally they're actually hitting the other trailer before, instead of just watching the trailer.
Yeah, they are.
Or tearing somebody's mirror off or whatever. I'm like, look, I said, you guys are doing the same thing over and over and over and over. I walked up to him. I said, count your pinholes. What do you mean? Count your pinholes. Where your pin's at? I said, now I'm going to teach you guys the correct way. Well, what do you mean? I said, just count your pinholes where you got your tandem slid. I said, that's where you want them, right? Yeah. I said, now count them. I said, okay, now slide your tandems all the way back to the back end of your trailer. Well, that's going to bubble. I said, you can reset your pins once you get it backed in.
Yep. But the other problem is too, though, is that again, the training academies for truck drivers are basically teaching people how to pass a license test. It's not how to be a truck driver.
No, it's not how to be a truck driver.
It's how do I pass my CDL test in my required state or province? And I only put it like that because I'm trying to speak for Canada and the US as well.
I know you have, Will Burner. I know you have.
But that's your thing is that you are basically teaching the guys how to pass a test versus how to be a trucker. And anybody can pass a test, but being a trucker is a totally different thing. It's got to be in your blood. It's got to be something you love, or you're going to be miserable.
But me doing what I did is teaching everybody out there in that parking lot how to get into a damn spot. By me doing what I did, teaching these two gentlemen how to do it. It's basically teaching everybody that's sitting out there watching me, showing them what to do. Okay. Well, once he slid them daggone tandems, he got it back in there. Nope. He goes, oh my God. I said, yeah, nobody taught you that, didn't they? Nope. Nobody taught me. I said, well, now you're taught. Now you know what to do. I said, now slide your tandems back where they were at the same pinhole. And everybody was watching me. So now they've learned.
Now, like certain areas, we'll bring up Chicago, with some of the very tight spots that there are there. Sometimes you have to bring them axles forward, but you got to always remember where that trailing is going, or that back end of that trailer is going, because it's like trying to get in around some places of Chicago.
Oh shit!
Oh man, it's like even if fully stretched out, you're not going to get it in that spot. So it's like bringing them axles up does help you every so often.
Oh, it does. It does. It's just that's where your knowledge comes in.
Yep.
You
the
really got to know
experience
about
that you learned
trucking.
over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's your experience over the years.
Like Will Burner saying, he says, hey, schools are teaching just the bare minimum now.
Yep, they are.
Yep.
I can accommodate for that.
I think it should be a 6-month mandatory thing. I mean, teach them every daggone thing, because they're tearing shit up big time out here, man.
It's what it should be. Is it should be, these big companies are all pushing for drivers. So it basically should be. So it basically should be, you go to one of these tech schools, you pass your CDL, and you should make it mandatory where these companies have to sit there and train these drivers for a year with somebody in the truck with them in order to teach them properly. Some of them do, but it's not a mandatory thing, and that's your problem. So it basically means unless somebody goes to the right steps, they end up.
I was at I don't want to be interrupted, but I was at my cousin's place. But here's the thing: Swiss trainers not even got a year themselves. How can you be training a trainer?
Right.
A trainer. I don't get it, man. I'm like, wait a minute. I said, you only got a year. And I said, you're training somebody? Yeah. I said, how's that possible? I said, what are you teaching them? Well, this, and this. I said, no, there's more to it than just that. I said, there's a lot more. And I said, it takes, I said, at 10 years, you're still wet behind the ears. And I was still at 10 years. I'm still learning today.
Yeah, we all are learning today. Yeah.
I'm still learning today, and I'm 59 years old. I've got a lot of years, doing this, but I'm still learning. Yep.
No, but that's the difference. The difference is these companies they basically hire a driver. 6 months later, he's a trainer. Instead of going to approach
Mm-hmm.
a senior driver with 5, 10, 20 years experience to say, hey, I'll give you this little bit extra. Can you teach these guys the right way of the ropes? And it would make a big difference. But to actually do that is a totally different thing.
Well, see, like with the one thing with the school, the tech school, because every so
That-
often I'll stop in at the tech school here in Appleton, and it's like, they always say we can't always teach a student one thing because it might change and they're in a different company's policy of how something is. So, I mean, they basically say they kind of give the driver the basic knowledge of everything they know. But like the last time I was there, probably about a few months ago, before they really started mandatory ELDs, I mean, they weren't even teaching them how to use a ELD. It was still paper log. So, I mean, it's like, should the schools around the United States have to update more on that, make it a 16-week program instead of a 10-week or a 4-week or a 2-week program to actually give these new drivers, some more information on everything that's going? I mean, if I was going to do a school, I mean, yeah, it would probably be a 20-week program because there's so much, even when we go in as drivers to apply for a job. I mean, they're cramming everything down in you in like 20 minutes and then giving you the keys and kicking you out the door.
Well,
That's just it. It's like, if you're going to do a training school, it's got to be 6 months minimum. But instead, these are basically somebody that's ran an instructor course and is turned around.
Truck drivers. Yeah, there's some normal truck drivers out there.
Yeah,
But what do you mean by normal?
yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say.
I'm not normal sometimes, but hey, that's just a lifestyle I live.
So it's a lifestyle you live when you live in a truck for a living.
I see some drivers out there 3-4 weeks at a time. I used to do it 3-4 weeks at a time, but I'd come home just so exhausted, and it'd only give me like 3 days off.
Yeah, I got up to Canada's north, Alaska's north ice roads. You live in a truck 3 months at a time.
Oh, geez.
Mind you, they pay you well.
Yeah.
But that's a totally different culture.
Oh, I bet.
So, after that question, is any driver normal? So, are any of us got a couple screws loose, do you think?
Well, I do.
We all do.
I mean, we deal with traffic all day long. How does that not loosen up a couple screws?
Well, me going down the highway doing what I do, I try to refrain from using, the swear words. I try to, being nice to my people that's on watching,
Yep.
I come up with other names. All right, you dork sniff.
Yep.
Have to come up with names,
Yep.
And I try my best not to use them, man. Good Lord.
And let me tell you, I have slipped either like once, maybe once every 2 weeks I might slip. So, but I mean, it's like, oops. And it's like, and then I got Carmen over there. All of a sudden she just like splurts it out. And I just look over and I'm like, and then she's like, and I'm like,
yep. It happens, because, hey, we're all human.
That's right.
That's right. Human. But we're trying to do a job for everybody to get their product out there to them, at the best of our ability. These people just don't realize it in these four-wheelers, and some of the other truck drivers don't realize it because they're just, I don't know what left field they're in, but they sure ain't in the right one.
No.
I seen this one foreigner in a Canada truck, and he just a foot on the dash and almost rear-ended the guy in front of him. Because he did not want that guy getting onto the freeway, and he sure didn't want me getting on the freeway. So I knew what was going on. I seen it, I'm like, let's just back it down there. And this guy's flooring it. And I'm not going to say the name of the truck, but I went up by him. I'm like, you need to put that foot down. You know what I got? That middle one.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. Like I've seen
freedom of speech finger.
The freedom of speech finger. Well, it's the same thing. Like it's like I've seen guys sending cover letters, and it basically says, I want to be truck driver. My requirement must be 2024 truck must be automatic. It's like, okay. It's like back in the day, we all learned with the 18 speed in the manual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're taught in an automatic, that's the only job you're going to get is driving an automatic. Yeah,
But you know, the other thing Ernie was bringing up though too is like, you know, a guy's got his foot on her. Well, you got some guys in Peterbilts are just like this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Over the dang hood.
yeah.
You got
ground.
you got the guys in the W9s and the Peterbilts and that's what it is. They're just sitting there in a lowrider, and it's like you wonder why you got a vision problem, bud.
Yeah. You know, and it bringing that up because like on one of our safety meetings that we had, they showed a video, and basically he didn't. So a car was coming up along the side. He didn't see the car. The car ended up hitting the side of the truck. He's dragging the car, you know, and that's what happened. The guy was way down in the seat. When he got back to the yard, it's like, well, how were you sitting? And he basically showed him, and he was like, that's why you didn't see the car, because you're a tall guy. What are you doing sitting down, scrouched in the seat for? I mean, this guy was like 6 feet tall. I mean, so his knees are probably up like this, you know, so it's like you couldn't see over the dash of what the heck was going on. It probably could have avoided the accident.
Yeah, but that's what it is. But that's what, or it's like the guys that put the big visors on the truck. Yeah, they look cool, but the blocks half your windshield. So then you gotta sit there in a lowrider, and then you can't see jack shit.
Right, Cheeky had a couple of those. I didn't like.
Yeah.
That's me because I'm vertically challenged. Well, that's kind of obvious, Queen. If you're vertically challenged, I can understand the reason why. But
So
I mean, for if you've got the height, you should be seeing over your hood.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm saying. Like if you're 6 foot or taller, or half decent height, then you should be set to see appropriate. You know, there's one girl I know that she drove truck. She was like 4'11". It's like that's a totally different scenario. It's like hats off to you that you can do that.
Right.
Having the many years I got, I'm sitting up in the chair and I'm watching all my mirrors, every freaking one of them, because I deal with all them cars. You know, you do too, Gary.
Yeah, yeah.
I imagine you do too, there, Lone Star. You know,
we all are. We're probably watching every mirror, probably about like every less than a few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you figure, I think what was it the last time? I think it was like 28 to 3,200 decisions we're making in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's like that's probably everything from watching mirror from left to right, you know, gauges, everything, you know. So I mean, it's like we're doing that much in amount of time, so we're really multitasking multiple things while we're going down each mile of the highway.
Yeah, I'm always watching that left mirror. I'm always watching them because they're going to come flying. You can see it's coming. They're flying to get up to head of you because they see that exit when there's nothing behind us.
Right.
Yep. Oh, it's like having the speed limiters in the truck. Right in Canada, it's the same thing. You know, everybody's in a rush to pass the truck because they know.
Yeah.
Because they know it's 65 miles an hour, something like that, depending on the truck, depending on your ECU. Everybody's going to sit there and blow by you because the other guy's in the hammer lane doing 70, 80 miles an hour.
Yep. Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
Or they got to pass you with 3 lanes of traffic just to hit the off ramp.
Yep, because this time in the 5 seconds is important.
Oh, yeah.
And then people sit there and say, well,
sit there.
Yeah, they stop there and sit there, and they'll be like, well, how come one truck is passing another one all the time? And it's like, because drivers are paid by the miles, and people are impatient to slow down 1 mile an hour and just follow somebody safely. So say you're going to take 10 minutes to make the extra 20 cents.
Yep, I've seen truck drivers out there.
So Racing Queen says, I don't trust a good chunk of our truckers. I've never known when they want over. Well, if a lot of them are using their turn signals, Queen, that's a good indication.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But that's if they're using their signals.
That's if they're using their signals, and I know she's also from Canada as well. That's what it is. You know,
the same thing up there. They're doing the same thing up there, not using their turn signals.
No, they always do.
There's tons of people that don't use their turn signals.
They always
have their phone in their hand.
They always do because they got the phone in the one hand. They got the phone in the one hand. They're sitting there on a video call with somebody, and they're sitting there driving.
Do you see? your police, or if that's what you call them up there, do you see them pulling people over for not doing that?
No, yeah. Sometimes it all depends on like our police, our Department of Transportation is a little bit more strict than the U.S. in some
Yeah,
aspects
yeah,
because
I figured.
because like the truck's having the speed limit, everybody goes, well, you can go and pull it out because I own the software for these different engine companies. I'm like, yeah, I can pull it out, but the issue is I pull it out and I go into a scale. The first thing that these officers will do is go plug the computer in, and the guy will say, well, you pulled that out. Well, like, there you go. There's a $5,000 fine. So there's a whole week of pay you lose. But it's like the good thing about ours is like there's police that are basically dedicated by each province just for trucks and the automobile, and the ones just for the trucks are a lot stricter with the truck drivers, and they are also big on teaching people right from wrong, which is important because that's what everybody's got to learn, especially the newer drivers.
Yeah, they did one of our drivers. They did checked his speed to plugging it in, and they found out he was speeding over there. They didn't like that too much.
Yeah,
Nope.
when it comes to the new ELDs, they can check a lot of things about the truck is what it's getting to
Hmm.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's getting to be, and that's why these guys are like. That's half the reason why I said, like, you see in the glider band, even though you can still build them, it's like that's why half the reason why you see it is because part of the glider band was if you look into the bylaws for the gliders, it basically says whatever truck that was given to an engine when it was plated as a glider or licensed as a glider turns around and says that's the oldest engine you can put in these trucks.
Hmm.
So it's so instead of putting in so instead of passing a law to say, well, hey, you can still build gliders, but your engines have to be OBD2 so that you can run ELDs out of them. They just cancel the whole thing altogether because of politics.
Now, is it all the way across Canada? It's got to be the same.
Yeah, no. It's basically Ontario and Quebec are the only two that have like the speed limiters,
Uh-huh.
for example. But the thing about it is to go through those provinces, you have to have it on there.
Cool.
So it basically means if you're an American trucker and you're going into New Brunswick through Holton, Maine, you don't have to worry about it. Or you're going into Manitoba or Saskatchewan, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
Now,
it's
see,
basically
like we were just into South Dakota just this past week, 80 miles an hour on that interstate. Now, if we would have went in Nebraska, I think it's like 75 all the way across there. It really depends because the people were asking me, what's the speed limit? It varies by state. Michigan is 65. South Dakota was 80. Nebraska 75. It just depends upon the state where you are. Texas, I know last I knew was like 75 miles an hour. People are going like 80,
yeah,
85 because they think it's
yep.
the raceway down there, but it varies wherever you go.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's the same thing up here. Same thing up
You
here.
gotta
It's
check
like
your cruise.
same thing up here. It's like Ontario, Quebec is 100 kilometers an hour, so it basically works out to be 62 miles an hour with
Yeah.
conversion.
Uh-huh.
Then all the other provinces, most of them are 110, so it's basically 65, 67 miles an hour, and that's pretty much how it is. But and that's the
Right.
problem with the,
We got a question here, but it's Jakesters asking, did you guys talk about the New York City trucker boycott? I didn't know nothing about that.
I heard bits and pieces about it, but I wasn't following it 100%. So, I mean, but I guess there was a boycott that was in New York because of everything that was happening over there with Trump at that time. So that was some of the reason why that was happening there.
yeah, that's pretty much what it came down to. It was just pretty much
Most is 100, but some sections 110. Really? Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, back in the
Is
day, it
that
was
kilometers or is
100
that miles per hour?
No, that's kilometers
kilometers.
because
60.
there is some sections of in Ontario now on the 401 and the 417, where they did bump it up to 110 as testing ground. But I was just trying to put the like average.
Well,
So now, like if Bandit would have been able to join us, he wasn't able to because he was having some sort of an issue. But in the UK, I think it's like 60 kilometers per hour, which isn't really all that
55 mile an
fast.
hour.
Yeah, it's
55 mile
about
an hour.
50, 55 miles an hour
Yeah.
that they travel in the
Yeah.
UK.
Yeah, in the UK they can do 90 kilometers an hour, so it works out to 55.
Yeah. Yeah, they got some
And
steam
that's
units over there.
yeah, but it's also that's why if you look at the virtual trucking companies for ATS and ETS, they have totally different things on what is called race miles, because the US, which is American Truck Simulator, it's 81 miles an hour is considered race miles because that's the highest highway speed for trucks. And over in Europe, it's like is 90 kilometers an hour, which is after 90 kilometers an hour, they consider it that for the virtual companies. So that's the only thing that somebody got right.
I'll get out there on I-80 and I've got the hammer down, man. I'm doing 75 and a 70. Bears,
Yeah,
because I mean,
Bears don't even look
except
at
for
me.
when you come into Indiana, then you got to back it down to at least probably
Well, when I get into
65.
Michigan, I back it down to normal speed. You know, when I
Right.
get into Michigan, it
Yeah.
says 65. I'm doing 70. I make sure that I do my cruise at 70. You know, because I don't need a ticket. My license is clean.
Right.
No, because that's what it is. That's what it is. Is that you can push it. You can push it as long as you know your limits and you're safe with it. Go for it. It's like here. So with the speed limiters at 105, it's like you can sit there on the speed limiter 105 and whatever. But the most interesting thing I had about it was going down a hill I had the DOT officer. The guy goes, oh, "How come you got the truck up to 110?" I'm like, "Because I was going down a hill. I was going down a hill with 100,000 pounds behind it."
Yeah.
I think we should bring
There
that
you
into
go.
discussion, Heavy Racing Queen. We know you got the pedal down to the metal on there.
I
No,
always
it's like
set my cruise if I'm going downhill for 500 speed limit. That way it held me right there at speed with the cruise control on.
yeah, it's like my friend has a virtual trucking company, and I did his computer programming for it for his company mod. It's like I put the speed limit 100 miles an hour. It's like you'd be surprised on how many the guys will sit there driving 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
The only way you're going to stop all trucks is to stop the fuel trucks. Yeah, that's one way to kind of do it. They won't be sucking all the fuel out of the things.
Yeah. Or it's the same thing as people get the super engines mod. They'll put like a 2,500 horsepower cat or 10,000 horsepower cat in the truck. I'm like, our trucks don't even have that much power.
Oh, that's true, Jake. That's true. It's 75 miles an hour here in Florida, and I'll do 10 over and still get past. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too.
I've seen that in Florida. Hey, Trig, what's going on? Double A Trucking, Tony. What's going on, Tony?
I wasn't trying to get off topic.
On panel, we'll definitely get you up here.
I wasn't trying to get off topic. I was just trying to be funny about it because I figured we could use a laugh.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good laugh every now and that's good.
Yeah, we haven't seen Tony for a while, and so it's good to see him.
Oh yeah, it's 75 mile an hour in Florida. It is
200.
You'll do 10 over and still get past. Oh yeah, you will.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've been down there. What speed limit?
Yeah.
I know that's right. I've been down to Florida where my truck would only do 75, even with that Peterbilt I was driving at 18 speed. It'd only do 75. So,
what are you guys think of California banning gas and diesel engines and going EV? How will that affect you guys? To me,
we'll just drop that for me. I ain't going back over there.
Let California do it. We don't go. I don't go to California, and neither does the company. They decided last year that we are not hauling anything to California. It's all going to be brokered out. So
Yeah,
those
because that's
guys that run
basically
California, they're going to get it all.
Oh,
yeah,
you know they're gonna have that electric truck bring it in.
yeah, because basically that's going to happen. Is you're basically just going to have a lot of cross docking facilities in the border states,
Yep.
where basically companies are basically going to be subcontracted, or the bigger brokers, like the bigger trucking companies, are going to have their drivers with 3V truck on one side, and the other guys are going to go onto the other. But it's the big thing about it's going to come down to is when more and more states add the ban, or do you believe the electrical grid's going to get too overwhelmed by EVs and everybody's going to go back down on it?
Yeah, because I know, like I said, with all the regulations that was happening with California, and they said this during the safety meeting, it was like, you know, with all the regulations and everything that's been happening in California, we're not going to go there. We're going to broker everything all out. You know, those that are in California, that's going to be their backhaul. They can deal with all that, because I mean, it's not worth for us as a company to go in there.
No, that's all it's going to come down to. It's basically, that's what it is. It's basically going to be, you know, it's all going to be brokered out from either the neighboring states or the whole runs in general, depending on your companies and depending on how greedy they want to be.
Right. And I mean, my truck is a 2020. And granted, it falls, you know, where it shouldn't have an issue, but you know, it's like I've heard a lot of drivers that go into these places, sit at the DOT scale, and literally their truck is getting torn apart, even if it's like a fairly brand new truck, just to find something wrong with the truck, you know. So it's like, no, it's not even worth it.
No, I'm right with Will Burner. I'm right with him.
Yeah, so am I.
Let them come and get their stuff.
That's
right. Basically what it says. You know, let them come and get their stuff, because at the end of the day, that's all that could be done. And
the bordering states could eat up on this. You know, they could make a bunch of warehouses right at the border.
No, that's basically what's going to happen. That's basically what's going to happen. Is basically when you look into companies like that do the self-insurance thing, that's what a lot of them have done. Is they basically built terminals in Arizona, and basically everything coming out of like Texas and whatever. Basically, you're sitting there dropping it off in Arizona.
I know that's right there, Queen. Yeah.
So we're going to see if we get Tony in here next. Well, what I'm going to do while we're sitting here waiting, I'm going to play a short little video, and we'll discuss what I'm going to play 2 clips here. Some of the things that we as drivers might deal with. Some of them may have, some of them may not have, but I'd figure I'd throw these clips in here. So
go ahead.
Quick standby. Right there is where it's leaking, right out of there. Of course, that hose is separated right here. That's why it's leaking. China-made hoses, everybody. Hello, everybody. So here was the issue. If a lot of you see this actually slipped out. So we put a temporary fix with 2 zip ties going the long way and 2 going around this fitting right here, so that this can't slide up and then eventually pull this out and loosen this up. So we definitely got a temporary fix here, but what probably caused it was because of these lines being so tight to each other. When this trailer flexes up and down, it actually tears these out. So it's kind of bad that they make these like this or so tight, because I actually took this one off to hold this here, and eventually this is supposed to all flex, but it doesn't flex all that well. And when this trailer goes up and bounces up with this airbag, and it goes fully up, it's just a pain in the butt. So this is what we did for a temporary fix right in here. Stuck two zip ties this way and here so that we can get off the actual highway. And for some of you that did watch the live video of that, we've got pretty far distance just to get up here. So luckily we definitely know as an owner operator how to get things fixed or temporarily fixed. So definitely that is what happened. So I'll explain what happened there. That actually happened coming in through the state of Illinois, because on I-80, once you get past 294 and get onto 80, start heading west, those roads are so bad there, and basically that trailer was bouncing. Now that hose where you see where I had the zip ties around, that was a China-made hose. And it was one of those quick slip lock ones where it had a ring around it and you pushed it in, and that's what yanked it right out and locked up the brakes on me that night. So, and then the other video was when we had the hosing that was replaced months ago, ended up being bad because it was a bad product that was made. Tony, good to see you. How's it going?
Hello, can you hear me, guys?
I hear you.
Shut that door.
I am doing. I'm doing all right. I'm a little. I'm just, having a Saturday morning where I thought I could be running a little bit today, but I'm sitting with no trailer, and dispatch is refusing to find me an empty trailer.
So you're doing the waiting simulation, as we call it here on Twitch.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I've called them 3 times in the last 2.5 hours, and they keep saying the same answer. Oh, we're going to email Planner and find you an empty. Emailing isn't working. Why don't you call them?
Shoot an email. Shoot an
Copy
email.
that, Jakester. Good to see you, brother. Take her easy. We'll see you again. We'll drop in when you're live or something.
So, yeah. It's been a good day, though. It's absolutely beautiful out here. It's sunny, and it's 60-something degrees out here.
So, everybody, Ernie, Lone Star, and Double A, a lot of you can explain, a lot of your breakdowns that you've had throughout your entire career. I know I got tons of stories that I can definitely tell you. So definitely explain some of your major downfalls you've had during your career.
I think I've only had one, to be honest with you. But you know what? You got what's good having a CB when your cohorts won't tell you, hey man, your lines are dragging underneath your belly of your trailer. They were down in Alabama. They finally drug to where it rubbed so daggone much. It rubbed the hole in the belly line, so I had to pull over. Okay, what's going on? So I looked underneath. There it was. I'm like, real nice guys. Springs broke. Because they dry rotted. So I called TA up. They come out there with the wrong fittings. The connectors. And he had to go all the way back to Tuscaloosa, which I was like 70 miles from Tuscaloosa. I was just inside, and I got a phone call from the TA. He goes, "Did my guy come there?" I said, "Yeah." He said he took back off because he didn't bring the right fittings like I told him to bring. Because me being a mechanic, Well, I was probably out there for at least 5 hours sitting there waiting to get fixed. But I got a free meal, free shower out of the deal. That was my only nightmare. Any other type, I fixed it myself, like you did. That was really smart. Taking the 2 wires and.
Actually, that's why we always carry zip ties in the truck.
That's why you always
we've got like 5 different sizes of zip ties in the truck.
I've seen a question in there. Where was the duct tape at?
Yeah. But believe it or not, that night we actually we weren't far from a repair shop. They have an account. The company has an account with them.
Yeah.
So I only had to do was probably a little bit like 30 miles up the road. And the guy was willing to meet me down on the road anyways, So I told him the size of the hose was, everything else, the thread type, everything. And he was like, "Hey, this is all helping. I'll have you done probably in less than 15 minutes, and you'll be back on the road."
Now, was that brand new? Was that a brand new line that was put on there?
That was a brand new line that they put on, and
Why would they put that style?
That I couldn't tell you.
That's crazy.
This was a hose that they got, and come to find out, it was a China-made product. And once I told them what happened, and I actually sent more pictures, in-depth pictures of it, they was like, they kind of got silent, and I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute, why are you guys getting so dang silent?" Because they're on like 4 to 8 other trailers. I'm like, well, you better call and get the drivers to get those trailers somewhere else, because if that hose pulls out, like what had happened to me on I-80, it literally, when I was going down the highway across 80, all of a sudden it's like, I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, I didn't know, and all of a sudden I pull it off to the side, and it was like, when you find out that hose is what it is there, and it releases all that, it takes all the air out of the brake chambers and locks that trailer up.
Oh, well, that's what it did to me when it rubbed those hose, through the belly of the trailer.
Yep, that's like the number one thing.
So I had to pull off. This lucky I got off. What was that, Lone Star?
I said that's like the number one thing that I think has happened to all of us. I said once you lose your air pressure for something stupid like that, you're pretty much screwed.
You are. You ain't going nowhere.
You ain't going nowhere.
That's the thing about CVs today.
Yep.
That's the thing about CVs. You think somebody would let, hey man, you're dragging your lines back there, or pull up beside me. Hey man, right back there, and you're like, okay, pull off and look. Okay, ma'am. Yeah, I seen my lines were low. I seen where my spring was, touching the ground, scraping. I'm like, well, look, I got a brand new one inside the truck.
The other thing about CVs are now is half the trucks, the guys don't even put them in there. It's like, what the hell? It's like that was their number one safety thing.
Oh yeah.
Or the guys are sitting there and you're live streaming and you got to turn it off because of the foul language, where your content platform will sit there and ban you if you're not 18 plus, because it's like,
how
what
many,
the hell?
Lone Star, you've been in my chat quite a bit. How many times have I had to shut it off because of it?
That's why I wasn't. That's one of the reasons why I say it. But I was just saying it in general. Or you have a kid in the truck or whatever. You don't want them to hear that,
right?
Because you're trying to.
What's up, Big D?
Because the thing about it is, is that the truckers that stream, you're trying to stream or you're trying to make content to inform the public, because there's so much about it that the public doesn't hear about. Or it's like I'll laugh, right? Because like Ontario, they'll go and they have one law, which is basically your low air pressure alarm must come on at 55 miles per hour. So it's like, okay, but at 60 miles per hour, your spring brake locks, so you're going to be locked up on the side of the highway.
Right. And I mean, it was bad that night because the traffic coming across 80 there on that little section there was bad.
Oh.
And it was like, okay.
Indiana?
I'm sitting there, huh?
Indiana, or was that Illinois?
And Illinois, that's what happened. Just getting into Illinois, and we got on 80 heading west after we got off of 294 there.
Okay, yeah.
And I mean, it was like, I was sitting there thinking, it's like, okay, what do I got? I was like, well, let's see. We got zip ties. Will the zip ties possibly hold it? Normally zip ties will hold anything for a while, but if it's like a mass thing, like let's say a turbo boosting up, it won't normally hold a turbo tube on there if it's not tight enough. But with the traffic just being bad that night, we had to do whatever it took just to get off the dang highway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why when I learned that lesson a long time ago, back when I first started trucking, I always kept an extra spring with me.
Yep, that's what it is. That's basically why you try to have your
everything
in
the side box. Everything in my side box.
Everything in that side box.
I've got extra hose clamps. I've got extra V clamps. I've got almost everything in there. The only thing I don't have in there yet is another airbag in case I ever blow an airbag out.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's where. Yeah, that's where I leave the mechanic do that shit anymore.
Yeah,
I'm too old for that now.
Even being trained as one, that's where I'm like, unless it's a basic roadside repair and it's parts or supplies for basic roadside repair. Anything else, you can take an Uber or a taxi to get your parts,
Mhm.
or let a service guy bring it, because the problem is otherwise it's very difficult to know what the hell you're going to need, and it just adds too much extra cargo to your truck that you can't find what you really want.
Scariest thing I ever done was change a canister, and I didn't like that. Good God, I didn't.
Nah.
Well, we've actually had to change an airbag. We had to actually we had a bad airbag in ours, and so we were just in Detroit, and then all of a sudden, I think we were actually in Richmond, I think at the time, or someplace. And
You're
next
up
thing
to
you know,
nine
it's like I'm calling the shop because it was a little after 6 o'clock. So I called the shop. I was like, I need a repair shop. And they're like, well, why? What's going on? I was like, I got a bad airbag. And he's like, well, the airbags, that's a 2020. They shouldn't be going bad. I'm like, yeah, it's like your 2020. Yeah, I don't give a crap where the hell you are from, because I mean, it's like nothing lasts forever. So, I mean, they gave me the shop down in Dearborn, and I actually still have that video yet, but park it, you go down Dearborn, and all of a sudden it's like, well, where the heck are you supposed to pull in and turn around or park or whatever? So I ended up parking right in front of the service doors, and I had to walk in. Luckily, they had everything all there. So I got the airbag, I got all the hardware and everything else, but I didn't get any brand new hosing or anything. So it's like, nope, everything's all here that you need. You'll have the bolt for the bottom. You'll have the two nuts up on the top to bolt into the frame. And we got over by Dexter there, and we actually changed it in the yard while we were streaming to show people this is what I had to do.
Mhm.
So it's
Oh, yeah.
like we've had to definitely fix things while being on the road.
Well, that's cool. Off Tony.
Yeah, he's back.
I was going to ask him where in the hell was he at. There he is.
There he is.
Where the hell you at?
Had a phone call come through.
Oh, where you at?
Where am I at?
Yeah.
I'm in Indiana.
Indiana?
Where in Indiana?
Just south of oh crap, what's the name of the town?
What interstate you on first?
65.
65. So you passed south of Indianapolis or north of Indianapolis?
South.
South? Oh, there's
Yep.
many of towns after that.
Oh, yeah.
Verno, Verenor, or something like that.
I've heard
North
of it.
Vernon, I think that's the name of the town. I had to
Trinity
drop
Mount
off
Vernon?
at DC, so
So they won't find you a trailer, huh?
nope. And it's already 2:30. I got 5 hours left on my clock, and yet
Oh,
they all leave at 3 o'clock their
No.
standard
They
time.
ain't
so,
going to give you anything. That's bull crap, man.
Yep,
On a Saturday? No, that's called a lazy day.
Yep.
Well, it's costing me a money. I could have ran a load today and gotten a delivery in today, but that's
Yeah.
on them at this point. You know.
Well, you.
When it comes to you as a driver, if so are you now owner operator, or where's your status right now?
Well, right now I'm still a company driver, but I'm
Okay.
looking into being an owner operator. I have to go into like a lease purchase program, but I have to make sure I get in with the right program, so I'm not getting lowballed on money or miles.
Right.
You know, I don't want to. I'm not jumping into anything that I don't feel comfortable with in terms of like numbers. So, like for prime example, a few weeks ago, talking about breakdowns, I've had quite a few already as a company driver, which doesn't surprise me because certain companies just don't take care of their equipment. I had a brake chamber completely go bad on me on one of my drives. Locked up the entire system. Couldn't move it just like would not go anywhere. So I get on the phone with dispatch, tell them something's going on. They said put in DVIR, so I put in DVIR, which is a daily vehicle inspection report. Put in that, take pictures of it, and they had a guy come out, look at it, says I can't fix it. You're gonna have to get a tow truck. Well, funny thing is, I told the company that you're gonna have to get a tow truck from the get-go. You know, because I knew it wasn't gonna get fixed on the side of the road. with
Was
the
the
brake.
chamber rotted, or what was the problem with it, or was it leaking past the rubber between the rubber diaphragm?
Something on the inside broke. A spring. He tried to bypass it, but he couldn't bypass it because the spring on the inside broke or something like that. He was telling me.
So it was rotted. The spring rotted away.
Yeah, something broke or whatever it was, and it just was not going to get fixed. And I spent 7 hours on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck.
It's crazy how, like when we're down, that how many hours we could wait for somebody to come out to change a tire or something, that all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, I could probably fix that. And next thing you know, like 3 hours, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours later, he's like, nope, we can't fix it. We're gonna have to call a tow truck.
Yeah, and that's another 5 hours of waiting because you can't just call any tow truck, and you got to call, I don't know what they call them anymore. A heavy haul, I call them.
Heavy haul. Yeah,
Heavy
they don't have
haul.
a AAA in trucking, that's for sure.
No, no, it's like Wheelburger said. I'm with him. I know on the lease purchase because I'm like, if I'm buying a truck, it's going to be spec'd on how I want, because a lot of the
Right.
companies that turn around and give you these options for these lease purchases, they're basically in it for themselves to get a driver, and you end
Yeah.
up paying 3 times more than making your payments.
Yep. Like, for prime example, I know that the current company I'm with, they want me to do a lease purchase. I said, well, give me all the information, let me look it over, and let me compare some notes with other companies, and I'll get back to you. Oh no, they handed me the information. They wanted me to sign the paperwork that day. I said, absolutely not going to happen. I'm not just signing any paperwork just because he gave me information.
Yeah.
Those are your companies that you want to watch out for.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they want you to sign paperwork right away today, they've got things hidden in there that basically screws you over as a driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what I say to anybody. I say, save your 5 or 10 grand, put it down, spec a nice used truck that you like, and that's to your specs, and you further had to do it, because there's a lot of finance companies, even if people got rocky credit, that'll still give you a 10% interest loan, and it's still better than 99% of these lease purchase programs, unless you get a half decent deal.
Yeah. And I know, like, some companies, they'll give you a per mile rate, while others give you like an 80% gross of what the truck makes, and others give you 75%. I don't know really which one's a better deal on commission wise, on how to make money off of those. So that's where it kind of is tricky for me.
Well, if they're giving you 80% of the load, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
The thing is you got to make sure that they still include the fuel surcharge in there. If they don't include the fuel surcharge on there, you're not going to be in that business very long.
Nope.
That's one of the things with where I'm at. We get a percentage of the load, we get the fuel surcharge. Now, when we deal with brokers, it can be a hit and miss. Sometimes we'll get a fuel surcharge. Other times we don't get a fuel surcharge. Sometimes it's probably programmed into the load amount. But the fuel surcharge, that's your important. If there's nothing about fuel surcharge, I'd be a little bit concerned about it.
Well, the thing about it is your fuel surcharge is the fuel surcharge. You can actually make money off of that fuel surcharge, depending on what kind of truck you're driving and what you're running for fuel economy.
I hate to break this, but I'm gonna jump off of here. I've been on 3 hours already.
All right, no worries.
Yeah, Gary, I appreciate this very kindly of you letting me be on part of this chat board. Okay.
Always, Ernie.
So get a hold of me again whenever you want to do it again.
Oh, I'll reach out to you, Ernie. You'll be one of the first ones.
Yeah. Hey, you stay safe there, Double A.
I will. You too, bud.
All right, buddy. Talk at you guys, okay?
Yep.
Later.
Question for you guys, because I might sound like I've heard of fuel surcharge. I'm not understanding what it actually does.
The fuel surcharge is basically a thing set up by your government authorities, which is basically about in your companies, because of the cost of fuel. Because the cost of fuel's gone up from like $2 a gallon to like 4 to 5, depending on where you are. So the fuel surcharge is all set up to um, basically offset the increased fuel cost and make it a little bit more affordable for drivers to stay in the business. Because without fuel surcharge, 99% of us would be broke.
Pretty much the whole world would, well, I don't know what they do in other countries, but pretty much the whole trucking would basically come to an extreme halt.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. So it's basically what it is. It's basically, if you can get a truck, I went and did the numbers the one time, and it's basically, if you could get a truck that got 6.5 miles a gallon or better, the fuel surcharge almost pays your fuel bills.
So it's basically money back in your pocket, basically.
Yeah, it's basically money back in your pocket. So it's basically what it is, as a company driver, fuel surcharge don't matter because you're using the company credit card to pay for your fuel. But now as an owner operator or a lease driver, unless your fuel's included in your deal, that fuel's coming out of your pocket every single month.
Yeah.
And that's your three basic expenses as a driver is your fuel, your insurance, and your payment for your truck, whether that's a bank loan and maintenance. Yeah, that's basically your 4 expenses.
Yeah.
And maintenance all comes down to is how good you are with your hands, how comfortable you are working on your own shit. You work on your own shit, you save a lot compared to paying, $150, $200 an hour for a shop.
It's expensive, I know that much.
And that's the reason why. That's the reason why, Interstate Travel Crew or Gary. That's why he's like me and does a lot of work himself, because he's saving money every time he's fixing something on his truck. Plus, he knows it's done right and the way he wants it. Versus paying a shop, you don't know what the hell the guy's doing.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been having that problem with our own company shop. Is like I'm always working on stuff because, like, for some of that, remembered that I put on the new APU cover on there. I had brand new bolts put on there, and within the last few months here, it's like all of a sudden I look at it, I'm like, what the heck is that damn thing on there? It's not what I put on there.
No, and I don't mean to point fingers at you. I just mean in general about the industry.
Yep, I get it. I get it. No worries, Lone Star.
I know. I got pulled into a weigh station a few weeks ago, and I was told to change out my airlines because the officer didn't like the looks of the the hoses. He didn't think it was going to hold much longer, and he said
down on the bottom there where it might rub on the deck.
Yeah. And I said, okay, well, can I just bring it up a little? He said, you're not allowed to touch it. I want a certified person out here to change out your air springs or your airlines, and I want new springs put on that trailer before you can move.
Yep, because
you've got to be joking me.
No, because at the end of the day, the air brake systems on those trucks, unless you're licensed for them, you're not supposed to touch them unless it's an emergency situation where you're broken inside the side of the road. Because it's like me, I literally have to write a government test every single year in order to say I know the adjustments, I know how that system's set up. Because I said to somebody, it's like your car. You run your car with a brake fluid, you go hit the brakes, your car's going to the ditch. The truck, it's the same thing. The air is the life of your truck.
Yeah.
The air is what makes your truck do your thing. And the air system's like one of the most critical of components of your truck is your air, your brakes, your tires. Anything else is like not a big deal.
Yep. I know the other day I went to unhook from a trailer and I got out from underneath the trailer. Everything was fine. I guess I didn't press in the air, the tractor brake far enough, and it popped out, and it just stopped me dead cold. And I was only going like 5 miles an hour, but it felt like it just stopped right there and then, without any warning.
Now
Nope.
imagine that doing about 65, coming out, starting to start heading out when that line, that video, and all of a sudden it's like that hose blew apart on there because of that little O-ring in there that would held it together. Now imagine doing that and coming to a screeching halt, like wondering what in the hell is going on here.
Yep. Yep. And the damage that does to your truck or your trailer, because it'll pull your whole truck. And if you're not paying attention, it'll sit there and flat spot your tires. And
Yep.
then there you go. You've got to get a new set of drives. You got to get a new set of
Trailer.
trailer. So there you go. There's like at $1,000 a tire. There's a $20,000 bill.
Yeah,
Oh,
that same thing happened to me in Florida too.
Yeah, one tire for a truck, depending on what you have, can be upwards of $1,000. That's basically why I say, you before you jump from company to owner operator lease purchase, you have to be 100% sure that this company's transparent on how they're paying you, or that's the reason why. It's like as Will Burner said in the other chat. He basically said, he'll give somebody $10,000 US if they can finish a lease purchase program, because 90% of them are made to screw the drivers.
Yeah.
Well, you're basically there making the payments for them. Basically,
you're basically sitting there making the payments for them. So basically, if you can drive for a year, spend a little bit more time on the road, live in the truck, save half your thing, you can still go and spec a 2020 truck and do payments on them, and then you're the boss. If you're not happy with the company, you can tell them to go hoof it.
Yep.
And I mean, if you don't have an apartment at home, or you don't got a family, I mean, you could literally save your money in the long run if you don't have, like, let's say, an apartment to worry about, other expenses at home, and you're just living mainly in a truck. I mean, save your money as much as possible.
Yeah, and I don't mean it to lecture anybody. I just mean, I look at this as, is that it's more an information session, because we didn't get Bandit to come here to talk about the UK and stuff. So it's more and more like just a general chat to inform the public on what life is as a trucker.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do. Like myself, like all my trucks are all pre-emission. But I was lucky. I worked for the dealership, and the dealership goes 2009. They go, "Hey, nobody wants this truck. Do you want it? Do you want it as your bonus type of thing?" And that's how I got my first truck. So then, ever since then, I made profit from the start. Versus a lot of these guys, they're paying $200,000 for a truck, and then on these lease purchase programs, you're paying $6.
Yeah. Well, my current company contacted me, the lease purchase program did. They want me to stay in my current truck and join their lease purchase program.
Yeah, because that's basically what it is. It's basically, you look at finance companies, like the big one is SFI that does it. And they're basically working with all the self-insured companies, Swift, JB Hunt, Schneider, a few of the other ones, and that's basically what it is. It's basically a 50% interest rate.
Right.
Yeah, the interest rate is usually up there. It usually is up there. I'll be back, everybody.
Yeah. No, I just I know that the lease program that my company works for is Lease Horizon, and I don't know much about that particular company, or that leasing company, should I say, and how they operate or how they work. So I gotta do my research on that.
No, all of them are all a red flag, and that's basically why I say to anybody, I say, don't get into it. Instead, you're a lot further ahead to save for your down payment and get involved with it that way, because then you get what you want, and because you're financing it through a bank for a few year term, that's your truck at the end of the thing. You're not going to pay a buyout fee. You're not going to pay any of that stuff, and that way then That way, then if you and a company go sour, you're not going to be the one on the hook.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's your thing. Your thing is that if you're with company ABC, which I'm just saying it is that just to not put anybody's names out there, right? And say you're paying the company for um, your purchase all the time, and you and the company have a falling out, you're pretty much screwed because the company's going to say, "Well, hey, where's my $100,000?"
Yeah.
So that's the reason why, like, if is that if you watch something like YouTube, for example, the one girl, Brittany Richardson, she went and entered a lease purchase with a company, and then basically the company basically said, because you're on YouTube, uh, and we see these people trolling you, we don't want to do business with you anymore. So the company sits there asking her for 75 grand for a truck that's worth 100, and she's paid for it for 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a bad deal for you as a driver.
Yeah. And then now most of these companies are now really getting these new drivers in with, oh, it's a walk away lease. You can just walk away, when it's like, well, you've already invested time and money into it. Why should you just walk away and lose all that time and money that you put into it? You know, that's what I don't get. You're gonna throw away money and then walk away like that with no return. You know.
We've actually seen a lot of the company drivers that went into the lease purchase buy a truck in 2018, 2019, maybe even a 2020 model that ended up buying or doing the lease purchase, and roughly maybe a year, 2 or 3 later, that same very truck is now sitting there waiting for either another driver, or else it's getting ready to be sold because the lease purchase didn't work out for them.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. It's because these lease purchases, unless you know that company's for you and the company's not trying to give you the screws, you're basically at the mercy of your company.
Yeah.
You're dependent on them. And I mean, basically, so for like with me, when I became an owner operator in 2013, I was a company driver. I was actually in the company truck. And so then when all of a sudden I was thinking about becoming an owner operator, it's like, well, I was always asking people, how do I go about it? And I got in touch with a very good friend of mine who basically I worked for at that time. He kind of told me, he's like, well, you want to get your own truck. I was like, what about a lease purchase? He's like, you want to stay away. And he told me all the details. He was like, if you need help finding a truck, I'll help you find a truck. He's like, but I'm not going to let you go into a lease purchase. And it was like my decision, but I mean, it was like, he mentored me so much because of that's how I got into my start of trucking. I took his advice very seriously.
Yeah.
And so basically, it's like I was sitting there looking around. The Godfather came up. I seen it show up. It was a 780. I always wanted a 780. It had the room, had the driver's lounge, and everything else in it. And he was like, I'll help you get this truck. And so then he called the company, and I would talk to him, and after a while it was one-on-one with the company that was selling the truck. And he's like, well, we'll sell the truck for 17,000. And I was like, well, I gotta test drive it first. I want to make sure everything's good. Everything's this and that of what you're saying. And eventually I went and test drove the truck. Thing ran great. Of course, I should have done some better inspections on it, because with the Volvos, you can find out what the mileage is. It's logged in deep into the computer, but you can find out what the mileage was. They ended up changing out the display on it, and it was the wrong display, so they never corrected it. So they sold it to me actually with less miles than originally on there. But I paid $17,565 and some odd cents for that truck, and that was the first truck that I ever bought right away. No bank owned it except for me, and I was going on vacation. So on vacation, they were supposed to put the people net in and everything else, which took a while to do. But ever since then, I learned it's like, if you're going to buy a truck and you get into being an owner operator, it takes a lot of risk. you've got to manage your money. You got to balance your budgets.
Yep.
You got to make sure you got your maintenance program, your tire program, and anything else there, your heavy vehicle use tax, and everything else. And you've got to be really good with doing business and make good business decisions as an owner operator.
The
Yep.
one thing that I've learned and just noticed that what I'm trying to do, even though I'm a company driver, fuel is the biggest thing I'm trying to manage myself. And even though I'm a company driver and I don't got to pay for it, I'm in my head saying, okay, you got this many distance. Do you need to fill up? No. Good. Okay, my next load, how many miles is that? Do you need fuel, and how much fuel do you need to actually kind of make it there, or have enough for your next fill up to your next load, or vice versa? Have enough for half the week, if not more, but then try not to fill up towards the end of the week. That way, it doesn't cut into your running costs as much.
Fuel is fuel. Fuel is something you got to pay either way. It's the big thing about fuel is you just have to be responsible and make sure you're buying it in the lower tax states to pay the less price, because then
Mm-hmm.
you end up paying for fuel and IFTA instead of paying for it in the taxes.
Right. Right. Yeah, because you
Because
always want to be in a lower state, because if it's higher in another state, yeah, that comes out of your pocketbook.
yeah, because that's the difference. The difference is, say, like in Canada. In Canada, I'll pay probably $7 a gallon. So with exchange, that'll be about $5.50 US. So if I go to like upstate New York with the load, and I pay $4 a gallon over there, that's $1.50 on every single gallon that I'm putting in my pocket.
That makes sense.
Right.
On why I don't know if you guys have heard of this YouTube channel, Trucker Josh. He's always buying his diesel when he can in the States rather than Canada. Is what
Yeah, no,
he's
that's basically
always
why.
done
Because
that.
it's like Will Burner will tell you. There's guys that literally went to Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, at a truck stop, and then the guy turned around and he went and filled up at. If you went and filled up on the other side of the border, you would have probably pocketed $200 in your pocket. Well, that may not seem like a lot, but you
But
times
it
that
adds
by
up.
if you put 2 tanks a week in your truck, that's $400 a week. You times that by 52, that's a lot of money out of your bottom line.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Sure is. And that's the
It's-
thing. Like my I don't like the one thing that been pushed on me is not so much the cheaper gas prices, but where do you get your fuel surcharge at, and taxes plus the company discount. If you do lease purchase, you gotta go with the company discount, they say, as much as possible, which
Uh,
I
yes and
don't
no.
I don't know if that's wholly liable in certain cases.
It's what it is that was that when you sign on as an owner operator with a trucking company, the trucking company will turn around and say, well, hey, they'll buy fuel at rack prices with certain companies, and then they'll say, so you'll pull into like Love's, for example, and you'll see the pump price at Love's for um, say $5 a gallon, but because the company's buying in a bulk through Love's, the company's paying Love's for. So they're basically just saying, you're going to make an extra dollar a gallon, but then you've also got to look at what's the other guy in the area, because if there's a guy across the street, say a Flying J, selling it for $3.50, it's still costing you money and you're still losing.
Yeah, because the ad with Lone Star there, like with us, I mean, we deal with like Love's, Flying J, Pilot, which are combined companies, Petrol TAs are combined companies. It's like because we're such a huge fleet. Um, Normally, let's say if it's like $5 on the pump price or on the sign, we might be only paying like maybe $4.98, $4.97, or it depends upon what the incentives that company is willing to give us for fuel, because of the fact is we always buy so much fuel from them. So that's where that comes in. But like our yard fuel, that normally comes in about 7-8 cents way cheaper, because we always buy bulk in our yard fuel too. So like when I get back into Wisconsin, I'm always going to Quick Trip. Quick Trip's always but it's better fuel in my opinion, and it's a lot cheaper than any of the companies that are in Wisconsin, like Love's, Pilot, Flying J, and all them. So I always try to buy the the fuel from them, because it's just way better quality.
Well, the thing about it is that the thing about it is companies like QT and companies like Quick Trip actually filter their fuel before it goes to your truck. So because of that, you don't end up with fuel filter issues and stuff like that. So again,
I'm actually glad you guys mentioned that, because I actually had a fuel problem when I worked with U.S. Express. I went to go fill up in New Mexico, and my truck just wouldn't start because there was crap in the fuel system that clogged the fuel injectors and the fuel filters and all that stuff. It just killed it. So, and they found out which gas station I filled up at and contacted them, and I don't know who ended up paying the bill, but it was a big problem for me and a big problem for my company that the quality of fuel wasn't good, you know?
No, but that's just it. That's why like companies like Quick Trip, Casey's, QT, that are offering good quality filtered fuel. At the end of the day, even if you're paying another couple cents a gallon, it's going to save you money, because you're not going to sit there on the side of the road waiting for a roadside assistant guy to come bring you fuel filters and paying him to change them.
Yeah.
But like you have to take all the stuff into account. It's not just the pump price. It's what am I getting for the pump price?
Yep.
Yeah. And as an owner operator, how often do you need to clean out your fuel tanks to make sure there's no crap on the bottom of your tanks that'll get sucked in? How often do you need to clean out your fuel tanks, like manually?
You're talking about like sludge and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you've had this problem, Lone Star, but have you ever had an algae buildup?
Yeah, because the algae buildups are basically because of the biodiesel blend. So basically, if you can avoid biodiesel the best you can, it makes a big difference as well. And that's the difference is some fuel suppliers or some states have a percentage of biodiesel that they require.
Mm-hmm.
And then
but otherwise, on the other part of the question, how many times have you cleaned out your tanks?
I've only basically ever had to clean them out because of stuff like the algae problems and stuff like that. Other than that, you really don't have to worry about it.
I mean, as long as you keep the stuff out, when you first open the cover, because like with me, I think there was only one tank that I think in my, I'm trying to think what truck that was. I think it was the Godmother, that I actually literally had to throw something down in there to kind of clean out the tank, because it was really bad and dirty. So, I mean, I just dropped the plug out, dropped an oil catcher down underneath that, and just let it go to town and just cleaned it out the tank. But normally for that, I've other than that one time, I haven't had to really clean anything else out, other than if I noticed an algae problem.
No, it's basically your tanks. You never really have to clean them as long as you're getting a good quality fuel, and as long as you're as long as you're using like a half decent additive with your fuel, especially in the wintertime.
Right.
And everybody will tell you this additive is the best, that additives are the best, and it's like you realize with trial and error, different additives have different results depending on how your truck is set up.
Yeah.
Did you use that additive that I suggested to you, Lone Star?
Yeah, because I was actually testing it, and like that additive is quite good. Say with trucks that are Cummins Powers or the Detroits, they love that additive, and it actually does like increase in the fuel economy and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the only additive I will ever buy. If I run out, then I'm gonna be a sitting duck.
Yeah, now stuff like the house and stuff like that. It's great with Caterpillar engines because it's an older thing, and the Caterpillar's an older engine, so they kind of get along.
Yeah.
But no, as far as fuel goes, it's more about changing your filters. You know, like every single oil change, I'll change it. I'll change out the fuel filters.
Have you ever used seafoam in your fuel tanks to counter the algae?
No, I've never used seafoam. I've used the diesel power service for it, but the seafoam is not really made for stuff like algae because
No.
seafoam is more just a petroleum lubricant that's made to help stuff work better, like your injector pumps and stuff like that. So it's
I
not
can't
really.
remember I can't remember the stuff that I use for the if I ever encounter an algae problem. I think that bottle's actually I haven't used it in so long because it was like it's one of those bottles that you squeeze where it goes up into a thing and then you just dump it into the tank. But I haven't used it for so long, and I couldn't tell you what it is anymore. But I've never used seafoam for that. I've always kept the seafoam mainly for gasoline engines that sit for the winter months.
Yeah.
Viking says I use that. Let's see here. I use that and power service fuel additives very fuel up and over had issues and the ATF Dextron 3 fluid.
Yeah, because the thing about it is, yeah, you can use transmission fluid. The ATF3 is a form of diesel conditioner if you really want to, because it is a good conditioner. It's the same thing as like a lot of guys still put a quart of it in with their oil and start their truck, and it'll help clean the stuff out before
Yeah.
they change the oil.
Yeah, because even like if I ran out of anti-gel, I've even had kerosene on board, a little bit of kerosene. I usually always put in like a cup of kerosene in there. That definitely
Yep.
helps the paraffin wax from building up or solidifying.
Well, it's the same. It's the same thing as, like I say to a lot of people. You know, if you're going to use the auxiliary bunk heaters, you know, go get yourself a reefer tank, a small one, and if you can get kerosene of some kind, run your bunk heaters off of that, because
Then
it's
you'll
got a
never
lot
have an
better
issue.
burn rate. You got a lot better burn rate, and you're never going to have an issue.
Right.
And as long as you can find a station or somewhere local on your trip or whatever that you can fill up another couple jerry cans worth of kerosene and refill it, you're pretty much set.
Yeah, because I know there's one company that'll add on to their fuel tanks and actually have kerosene just for the bunk heater.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple companies that do that, or it's the same thing as like you can actually, or same thing as like you can actually buy like the split tanks, because some of the trucks I'll buy the split tanks for the hydraulic and the diesel,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I'll fill up like the 25-gallon split tank side with the kerosene. I'm like, I'll put kerosene on this side for your bunk heater. You're gonna never have a problem.
Right.
Yeah. I'm finding this very, very informative, to be brutally honest. I'm learning a lot from everybody, because I didn't think kerosene would be a good idea, but
Well, it's because kerosene is a fuel oil. Because basically all diesel is number 2 fuel oil,
Yep.
and then it's basically what it is. It's basically the additives in it. It's what changes the thing. It's like, technically speaking, if you heat with oil, you can go to a gas station and you can buy farm diesel. You can buy on-road diesel, and you can dump some of that in your tank and refire your furnace, no problem. It's
Oh.
just it's just the way that the heat comes out from it. That's what makes a difference.
yeah.
Well, between your kerosene and diesels, it's the after product of basically your higher grade gasolines.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Like, the
Right.
base product is the same. Like, you can run a diesel engine on kerosene if you really wanted to,
Yep.
but it's just, do you want to pay the extra couple dollars a gallon?
Right.
You
Yeah, because
know,
I think kerosene right now, I think the most I've seen was like $5 a gallon almost.
Oh.
yeah. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Versus you, what you pay for diesel, you probably pay $4 a gallon.
Right. Right.
You know, something like that. And it's just basically, again, it all comes down to the cost. And it's plus the diesel fuel has the lubrication added to it. and the additive pack for the diesel engine, so it's better for the long-term environment versus something like a bunk heater. The kerosene is great because it's got one purpose, and that's to provide heat through the pilot.
Yeah, the one thing that I noticed during the winter months when you've got additive fuels in there, it definitely burns up the screen in there in the bunk heater much easier. Because I know we had to switch out the bunk heater this year because of a bad screen because we didn't have any more screens. So we did have a new bunk heater that we threw in there, but I definitely got to figure out a way of how to get a tank in the back there and run it so that it just like stays on kerosene, so I don't ever have that issue.
That's your best way. That's the best way is like because you've got the T680. The T680, there is a company that builds the split tanks for it, so you get like 100-gallon tank,
right?
With like a 50-gallon, with like a 25-gallon hydraulic oil tank on the other side of it. So you can basically fill both of them, and they're sitting there at the back of your cab for the access in the same port. So
right,
that is one of your options. And if you want to make them look the same, you can buy like a 125-gallon fuel tank as well, because they got like 125. They got 125 and the 25, so you could put 125 on each side and increase your fuel economy, your fuel capacity a little bit, and be able to run it like that. But
right.
that's all up
Well,
to
that's
you and
one
the
of the things I'd
pocketbook.
like to do.
Yeah, but I know that's something that you'd like to do. That's why I mentioned it. But
Yeah, because I don't
example.
like only having 200 gallons. I mean, I was used to having 300 gallons of fuel on the Godfather, and all of a sudden it's like now it's like 200 gallons. It's like this trip before if I would have had 300 gallons, but
Yeah,
I mean now with all the emissions on the right side, I can't put a bigger tank on there. I got to leave a 100-gallon tank. But the other side, I've got plenty of room. If I could probably stick 150-gallon in there, I mean,
yeah, that's the reason why I said. Well, even on the emission side, you can go up to 125, but that's about all you can get over there.
right?
So it's basically you can do 125 on each side with a 25 hydraulic and run that into your bunk heaters.
Because I think I'd have to
Is a
go a
good
bigger
option.
drum in order to get that big of a tank. I can't go lengthwise, but I can put a bigger drum
Yeah,
on there.
yeah, because the drums are a little bit bigger.
Right.
And so it's basically your length would be a little bit more on the left side for your bunk heater. Then it's just a matter of running the fuel lines.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the other thing, Tony, too, is starting out as an owner operator, you got to start worrying about then if they end up doing a 1099, you got to start paying your own taxes. You got to probably start figuring out your maintenance. Basically taking a piece of paper like this and know how to like divide it down and make sure you've got everything that you need for a tire fund, maintenance fund, taxes, federal taxes, state taxes, business name.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to you guys at was I've had a few companies say we will put a percentage of the mileage that you get into a maintenance fund up to some say 2,500. I have another company saying up to $25,000. I said that's a little bit much, but that's not an option. That is something they do. For the maintenance fund that automatically comes out of your weekly settlement. And then they do that over a period of time within weeks, up to so many weeks, I think. And once you meet that threshold, that's where it stops. You can add more to it if you want. But most companies I've talked to so far, only except for one, does not do a maintenance account.
Well,
So
it's because basically your maintenance account, it all comes down to it is like being like a trained tech, right? See to do an in frame on a truck like what Gary's got that has the probably an X15 in it. You're looking at 30 to 40 grand to do for an engine rebuild. So that's the
engine
reason.
rebuild. Oh God, if I need an engine rebuild, I'm in trouble.
No, no,
You're
no, but
better.
that's
Tell you the truth, you're better off buying a whole engine instead of doing a
yeah,
rebuild. Tell you the
yeah,
truth.
you are. But I'm just saying that's what it is. I'm just saying like for the financial aspect of it, that's the reason why the companies build up the maintenance fund so high. Or if you take a transmission out of a truck, that's 20
Oh,
grand.
yeah. I mean, I
Like
just had my transmission in my car replaced, and it was, oh man, if it wasn't for my warranty that kicked in with that, I would have been paying an astronomical amount of money for a transmission, a rebuilt
yeah,
transmission, not even a brand new one, a rebuilt transmission.
no, I'm just giving in like rebuild prices, but I'm just saying it's like mind you, like there is all the benefits from like saying the engines to get them pre-rebuilt to brand new ones, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the companies will like Cummins will send you and sell you an engine as long as you return your core, a
Yep.
fresh factory rebuild that
Yep.
you don't know. So that way, then you don't have to worry about, hey, did the guy going through my engine do it right? No, because you got a Cummins trained track tech doing it.
Yeah,
So that's your difference.
yeah, because I'm
Yeah,
pretty
because
much.
we were thinking about getting another engine for the Godfather, because I
Mhm.
definitely got another engine laying around from a truck that we tore apart. And if I was going to get another 530 horse engine for the Godfather, they said, "Oh yeah, we could probably even bump it up to 600 if you want." But
Yeah,
the engine would have to go back in there, and so I mean, yeah, it would have been a lot easier to buy the engine. Um, for probably 32,000. Now that doesn't include all the labor to put it in there, all the fluids and all that other stuff. That's just roughly a base price.
Yeah, well,
But
I think
I
about
mean,
it's the end frames. You can do the end frame rebuild without pulling the engine, so you save
yep,
some money. But
right.
the problem is that unless you know the person doing it well enough that they know what they're doing, you're basically taking a crapshoot. And that's the whole problem with buying a truck is that or owning a truck is that you can spend $40,000-$50,000 in repairs in a year easily, or you can spend a couple $100.
yeah, and that's the
Well,
thing.
not
Like,
not a
uh,
couple $100, but I was just trying to explain from one extreme to the next to try to make it make sense to people, because unless you're a trucker, you don't really understand.
yeah, and the
Um,
thing is the one thing I know that I'm gonna need is an EIN number or something with the. I
yep,
think it's an EIN number is if I
yep.
remember my
That's
terminology
for your
correctly.
1099.
Yep,
Yes, for your yeah,
I'm gonna need that, which uh, the government, I believe, can get you a free one if you look at if I remember correctly, you can get a free EIN number.
yeah.
Um,
Well, so the taxes come down to it's all about having a good accountant or having a good
mhm.
tax person,
Yeah,
That's
because
which
if
I
right.
will. I,
because if you don't have an accountant or a good tax person and um you're in the trucking industry, you lose out on a lot of money, and you're the one putting you at risk, because a good trucking industry accountant can tell you exactly how much to put away and everything, and then you're not wasting your money or trying to call up with 20 or 30 grand at the end of the year to pay a bill.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if I, which I am gonna go lease purchase or figure out some way to get a truck. Because I don't want to be a company. I feel like if I'm a company driver right now, I'm holding myself back from potential growth of
Yeah, but,
not
well, the thing about it is you got to think about it like this: what's your living situation like? What's your responsibilities?
right now. It's just me.
Tiber, we're not doing reruns today. This is actually
Yeah,
live.
Um,
yeah.
right now it's just me, and that's why I'm
We, we,
thinking
we,
about doing
no,
what I'm
no,
doing.
no,
All I
no,
got to worry about is
because
me.
no, because what I'm saying, like if you're worried about just you, there is companies you can run with that'll set you out 3 or 4 weeks at a time, and you can sit there and bank money to have a good down payment in order to pick out what you want from a used truck market that's a good spec truck that a
Hmm.
bank will finance you with the down payment, and then you're 100% your boss. So as long as you got a good accountant, and as long as you're willing to interview companies before you say yes or no, you're pretty much free to do what you want. You're not holding yourself back.
That's good.
That's
That's That's
So that's the
Well,
best way to do it.
the
yeah.
other thing is like, okay, like with the tax laws, I mean, a lot of the oh, I don't remember how many she told me to change just this for this year. But you know, a lot of the tax laws that are in there, and a lot of things will apply to you, and there's a lot of things that don't apply to you.
Yeah, and that's why you
Luckily
need a
for
good
this,
account.
yeah. So luckily for us with this year, I mean, when we had our taxes done last weekend, there was a lot of things that benefited us, but there was a few things that didn't benefit us.
Like, what are
So
some
I
of the
mean,
things that didn't benefit you that you thought could have benefited you?
well, buying the truck or going the lease purchase we're doing now through the company.
Mm-hmm.
After we've looked everything over and had everything looked at on the contract, it was a good thing for us because I can write that off now for the next few years on my taxes because literally in all every little expense that we've had to have done with it with the APU and everything else just recently, we've been able to write that all off this year.
Yeah,
But
yeah, and that's the
there's other
reason.
things that you can't write off that they won't allow you to write off.
No, no, and that's what it is, and that's why a lot of guys will. That's why a lot of guys will buy a truck through finance, and then they'll lease it to themselves for a $1 purchase fee at the end of your 2 or 3 year lease, and in order to still get your lease benefits, but avoid your whatever. And that's why it's good to basically come up with some kind of a down payment, and then basically talk to a good accountant or
Yeah.
a good business advisor that knows the trucking industry and talk to them about how they do something.
Because the one
Yeah, it's
thing is,
very
if I stick with this truck, um, the one thing I would need is an inverter put in. That's the only thing I don't have in this truck is an inverter. Um,
well, inverters ain't that hard to install. It's
And
just part of
inverters ain't that hard to install, but the big thing about it is is you're a lot further ahead to have something like a green APU that's going to provide you heat and power, and it's going to
mhm.
heat your truck in the cold because that's where you're going to save on your fuel because you're not
Yeah,
idling your truck.
yeah. That's the one thing I my the who the heck called me the other week about it was I didn't run my truck at all last week on idle. I just turned it off, kept it off, and I just put extra blankets on and stuff. And I had the company called me and they're like, "Why aren't you idling your truck to keep it warm?" I'm like, "I don't need to. I don't need to." You
No,
know,
I
they're
don't
like,
need to either. I grew up in the north, but I'm saying like there is situations that you'll get exposed to. Like for example, when I drove ice roads in the north, the truck's at
mm-hmm.
-40. So that means if I didn't have the APU keeping the engine warm, the truck would have froze up.
"Oh,
yep, it
absolutely,
would have
yeah,
gelled up real
absolutely."
quick,
Um,
especially in that temps. Woo!
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, no, that there would be circumstances where I will just idle it and keep it idling because it
yeah,
would
but that's the reason
benefit.
why I'm saying is because what you got to remember is when you're a single guy and you're in the truck, that truck's going to be your home, and
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's how you're going to pay for that truck.
yeah,
So it means you want the comfort of home. So having stuff like an APU, it turns around where you can make your own small portable kitchen in your truck. You know if you've got a mother, girlfriend, whatever, and she wants to make you meals for the week, she can make you meals for the week. You can put it in your freezer, and you
Yep.
can reheat that in your microwave, and instead of paying $20 for a Hardee's hamburger meal. As much as a Hardee's hamburger meal's good, that cuts into your bottom dollar of what you made that week.
Right.
yeah,
Because there's many times that we've loved going out on the road. A lot of people know that I always bring food every week. It's like what everybody else don't eat at home is what I take. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like we always make sure we got the taters on board. We always got to make sure we got something else on board. Um, so yeah, but like getting back also about with like a difference between whether having the power inverter or APU, um, you need that APU because I mean a lot of that usually will tie into the power inverter because once you use that power inverter and you don't have nothing to replace that electricity that or the juice from the batteries, it'll leave you stranded.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the other part about it. Like, cause you put a
Yep.
power inverter in that truck, you have to idle the truck and rev it up every time you're going to
Yep.
use that inverter, and
Yep.
make
Yeah.
sure your charging system is gone. So it's going to
So
cost you more for the fuel.
is the APU ran separate then from the
No,
battery system, or is it just tied into the battery system to
the
run
the, the,
separately?
the APUs run separate because it's basically a generator that's
Okay.
also got a charging thing. But the APU is basically in your fuel system and stuff like that. And the difference is an APU will use like a gallon an hour,
Right.
Okay.
if that. So you basically figure, you're taking your 10-hour rest break or whatever. You're waiting for a shipper. Well, there you go. You just use 10 gallons of fuel for your
Yeah.
rest break, or a couple gallons because you're waiting for a shipper. Because like I've had times, I backed into a doctor at a Walmart to get, say, a load of meat or something. And the guy says, well, it's going to be 3 hours before you get your load. So I'll be like, well, okay. My girlfriend sits there, and we'll cook you a meal. Oh, there you go. I can reheat her meal. I can eat
Hmm.
dinner, go for a nap, all in the comfort of the truck. The guy comes next to you, bangs on the door, says, hey, your load's ready. There you go. You turn and burn. You drive your 600 miles. You're at the other guy. Everybody's happy.
Yeah. Because I've pretty much made up my mind that I don't want to be a company driver. Um, I'd rather be my own boss and be able to choose what I want to do in terms of making sure I can make the money that I could potentially make. Because I feel like I'm getting held back as a company driver of making the potential money.
Yes and
Realistic.
no. Yes and no. A company driver, the big benefit has its benefits and it has its rewards, and it as like what Gary said, it's why a lot of the guys got out of their lease purchase and went back to company because stuff like the recession.
Mm,
Right.
Because the difference is if you're a company driver, if fuel hits $10 a gallon, that doesn't really affect you because the company is still paying you $1 a mile. Versus when you're in the owner operator shoes, at $10 a gallon versus the $5 a gallon, just took half of your profits out of your pocket.
that's true. Yep.
So like here's another thing, because we're gonna go back a little bit about when it came to, like, the fuel surcharge. So if they're giving you a load that's paying $400,
Okay.
and let's say they're not giving you fuel surcharge, what might be half or a quarter of that. So like, you figure you go to the pump, you've got 200-gallon tanks, we'll just say, and all of a sudden you're filling up your tanks and it costs you about $400, which you're already getting paid for the load, $400. Are you making any money off of that?
Nope. You're basically breaking even at that point.
Yep.
No,
Well,
yeah,
actually, you're spending money to put back into the truck because you just used up your load money to put it in the fuel tanks.
you're
So
losing
with the
because
fuel
that.
surcharge is actually giving you a little bit of incentive, to offset that cost of that fuel into your truck.
Yeah, because the difference is, right, is that if I get, say, a company like my company's 100% fuel surcharge. So the difference is if I get a $400 load, they're giving me 100% of the fuel surcharge. You might get $200 for your fuel surcharge. So when you go and fill up your truck for $400, you still made $200 off of that load, which at least, yeah, it's not a lot of money, but at least that still put some profit in there. So that by the time you put some money into your maintenance account, your business accounts,
Mm-hmm.
because you still made, say, $100 for your 2 or 3 hours worth of work.
Yep.
Yep. Now, if you don't fill up at all, you still get that surcharge, right?
Yeah, yeah, you still get it either way.
You're
But
supposed
think
to
about
still
it,
get it, yes.
you still get it either way. But I'm just saying as an example because fuel, you're going to buy it sooner or later.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's a given.
Because that's all I'm saying. Like even if your truck has a 2,000 mile range because you've got 200-gallon tanks, once you get to the end of that 2,000 miles, you got to fill that truck.
Yeah.
So the difference is that if you've done 4 loads, that's 500 miles each, and they'll give you fuel surcharge. Well, that's what's paying your fuel and making your profit.
Yeah.
But the
Because you,
one thing too, to kind of add to what Lone Star is saying, is sooner or later you're going to need fuel. But the other thing you also got to think in mind, though, too, is like, okay, let's say you're here in Indiana and you got to go all the way out to Washington State. You got to sit there and think, okay, should I fill up now or should I wait till I get out to Washington State where fuel might be $5.25 a gallon? So, I mean, you always got to take a gamble at that too, you know, with that fuel surcharge of when do you want to save money or do you want to just spend more money when you're out in Washington State?
Yeah,
Because
so
you're
that's
gonna,
the
either way, you're going to have to get fuel out in Washington State for that many miles.
yeah,
That's
that's
the
the
one
reason.
thing. That's the
Yeah,
one thing I noticed as a company driver. When I would go out to California, I would always fill up right before California. Right
yeah, and
before
that's the reason
California
why.
without
That's the
fail.
reason why that you need a good fuel tracker, so like app on your phone, app on a tablet. Like I say to anybody, buy a good tablet.
Mm-hmm.
Put your apps on the tablet. Sit there at night. Sit there at the shipper. So when I'm picking up at the shipper going from New York to California, I know I can buy fuel in this state, this state, this state. This is my three cheapest states to buy fuel. Top off my tanks,
Yeah.
top up my tanks, get my free shower from Flying J, clean up,
Yep.
turn around and come back from California and say, okay, okay, well here, these are the states I can stop in that's cheap, get my free showers, repeat. Because you always want to buy fuel at the cheapest rates because fuel's not bad because fuel is your tax deduction off your profit. The big thing about fuel is you don't want to overpay or overspend
Right.
Right.
because overpaying or overspending is what cuts into your net profit at the end of the year that you can put it in towards a certain amount into investments in the bank to reinvest towards your next truck
Mm-hmm.
to not have to not have to do a bank loan again,
Yeah.
do repairs on your truck, do whatever's required. And
Because
that's why it's
the one app I run separately for my own is Trucker Path.
yeah,
That app, I didn't think it was going to be that great, but after
no, it's
using
great.
it for a month, it tells you everything you need to know that I need to know when it comes to routing, which is about the same route that I run currently with the company. It pretty much mimics the same route, a few differences here and there, but it shows you along your route the cheapest fuel prices at certain points.
Yeah, but that's all I'm saying. And the thing about it is that the more and more years you put over the road, the more you know. These states here have the best fuel prices.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll go on an app like say Gas Buddy, and you'll say, "Hey, in Indiana, I go through these five cities that have a Flying J. Which Flying J's got the best fuel price?"
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah,
I'll say,
because
"Okay,
the one thing is, well, like with me leased on, I mean, the company gives me every morning, Monday through Friday, an email of where the fuel prices are throughout the whole United States,
yeah, I get
all the
emails.
way from
I
A
get
to Z.
emails. I get
Yeah,
emails like that too." And there's like
right,
third party trucker services that'll turn around and say you too. It'll email you every single day and say, "Okay, here's the current loads. Here's the hot spots. Here's your fuel price." And that's all good to know because that way then you know, okay, well, if I'm going to be loyal to Quick Trip because Quick Trip's got the best fuel, well, here's the five Quick Trips on my route that I could get fuel at, and which one will I visit,
Yeah.
right.
or where's the Casey's, or where's whatever. Because the
Yep.
thing about that's the difference is
Honestly.
that's what difference is when you're an owner operator, you're in business 100% for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why it's 10 times more complicated than just being a company driver where basically you go into an office, you see a dispatcher, you get a key, you get a route, and that's what you get. Because now all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, I got to pay myself, you got to pay your company, and you got to build your savings.
Mm-hmm.
And you might not even be able to fire the truck secretary.
Yeah, because yeah,
I tried to fire the truck secretary I don't know how many times, and that bugger, he seems to stay there.
Yeah. No,
That's
I'm
the
not
one
trying.
thing. Boy, that's the one thing I do every night is go over my paperwork and make sure everything's organized. And I'm like, man, I'd rather be the one doing all this, but there's certain things I'd rather push on to someone else.
Well, that's basically what it is, and that's
Well,
the
the
reason.
thing, it's going to get more in depth for you, Tony, because I mean, it's like, okay, so like we're down in the office here. This is basically Carmen's domain. I'm just kind of a reserved guest right now, but for the most part, you know, when I look at the shelves and all the way across, it's all trucking. So like, you know, there's stuff that, and Lone Star probably does the same thing. He's probably got a spot in his office. It's all deals with trucking.
Yep.
But the load sheets, the trip sheets, all the fuel receipts, all the repair sheets, everything is in its pile. Because by the end of the year, you either got to do a spreadsheet, unless you're going to do it on the road, get a laptop and do a spreadsheet completely on to your computer. So that at the end of the year, because if the numbers for what you made per year don't match your whole entire spreadsheet, you've got issues. Because if you ever get audited,
You're
You're
screwed.
screwed.
you're screwed. You're
You're
literally screwed.
screwed. You're screwed. And that's the thing about it is that unless you buy like a half decent laptop or a half decent tablet and you want to sit there and take pictures of everything and enter it into your spreadsheet and keep your records, you're screwed. Because if your numbers are one thing and your numbers are something else, you're screwed. And it's the same thing with something like IFTA and the fuel tax. If your numbers do not match up what they should be because they know what you've been running, where you've been buying your fuel, you're screwed. You're going to get audited. And once you get audited, then you're this down the rabbit hole, screwing yourself every single day.
That's right.
I think that's where an accountant would come into play, just to kind of help you
It
with that
does.
kind of stuff.
It
It
does.
does. It does.
Because
It
But
I'll
does.
be
one
the
thing
first to
is,
tell you, I am not good. That's one of my weaknesses, and you can ask anybody. Is I'm good at making sure that the numbers work for me at certain points, but when it comes to keeping track of numbers, yeah, no, I'm horrible. Like budgeting is kind of my strength, but really my weakness of keeping track of everything to do the budgeting. You know?
It is. But the thing about it is, an accountant's your best friend, but your accountant's also your worst enemy
yes,
because the way that you run your business is
Mm-hmm.
unique to you, the lifestyle you want to live, and your beliefs. And an accountant is not going to tell you all that, because the thing about it is that okay, you might you might look at a company offering you a route. You might say, well, hey, I don't want that route because maybe you want to run, say, Maine to Montana because you want to visit the Iowa 80 every single time that you go through every couple of days to have a nice shower because you really like their showers.
Yeah.
Are you really like the benefits? Are you really like that they've got an on-site dentist, or they got a chrome shop to buy accessories for your truck, or they've
or you
got
might see the
a
Aflac
haircutter?
duck there. Who knows?
You might see, but that's what I'm saying. You might see something that you like, and that's what being an owner operator in the trucking industry versus a company driver is that your loads are picked by you, and you've got the final say to say yes or no,
Mm-hmm.
because that's your truck. And that's the difference between, again, being a lease purchase or spending a year in the truck as a company driver, making your savings, and buying your truck with a down payment. Because you're more going to be a free agent bringing your truck to company ABC than leasing the company from ABC.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, company ABC is going to say, hey, because you, Johnny, lease your truck from us, we hold all your power over your head and the
Right.
dangling carrot about how you make money. Versus you, the truck, because you've gone to Freightliner, you've picked out the Cascadia that you want, or you picked out the Volvo that you want, or you picked out the T680 you want, or whatever. That truck is now 100% your asset as long as you pay the bank every single month.
Yeah.
That's the big difference. Because
And if that
yourself,
thing goes down for any reason, you're screwed.
yeah,
Basically, that's where you grab your ankles.
yeah, yeah, but that's what it is. So that's why you need to get yourself into a position where if that thing goes down, you're screwed and you're building enough money into your maintenance account to cover that.
Yeah.
But also you've got to realize that your truck is your asset. That's how you make money. So the truck's going to be your house, your home, your way of life, your asset, all that wrapped up into one bundle.
Yep.
And how much does I know it's gonna sound like a really weird question, but how much does a DOT inspection cost on an average? The one that
It
you have to have
varies.
every single year because of whatever.
Varies depends on your states. It varies depending on your company because different companies have different deals with different
Right.
repair services. Like there's some companies where they'll deal exclusively with Speedco by Loves because they're big on international trucks, and Speedco's a international certified repair guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, with the company, if you're leasing on with the company that you were previously a company employee, they could probably do it, but they will charge you. I mean,
Yeah,
every little thing that that seems to happen since we've been purchasing this truck, it's like they've been charging us for this, charging us for that.
everything is a fee. That's basically what I
Yep,
say.
yep. Everything's gonna be a fee, no matter what. I mean, even checking the tire, maybe sooner or later, it's like, well, you're over a pound of air, so that's $30 for checking that.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying you got to take all that into account
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't, you're hurting yourself.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah. So
That's all
all
I'm
of the
saying.
information to keep track.
And it's not that I try to lecture anybody or be negative. I just try to give
Realistic
experience,
opportunities.
realistic opportunity, and realistic experience. Try to help people.
and and not to have unrealistic expectations. You have to have realistic expectations of what you can and cannot do.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. And you got to
It's
live
like
within your means.
A lot of
super.
a lot of people like me and Lone Star that do this every single day. I mean, we get up, we go to work, and do this week after week after week after week. For some of the stuff that we deal with, whether if all of a sudden the truck is like having endless problems and it's in the shop and you're wondering, okay, was this a good investment? Was it not a good investment? Next week later, we blow a tire, blows out complete axle, transmission, engine, injector, blow turbo,
Yep.
whatever. It's like for some of us that are actually the ones that are owner operators that go into this so very deeply, it can be a complete outright headache for us. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
we could have such an off week that you get up on the high, you had a good week, and next thing you know, for the next 3 weeks, you're down on the lower part of the hill there, and you have to rebuild up.
One week I could make 20 grand. The next 3 weeks cost me 20 grand each week.
Yep.
No,
My truck.
no, but no, I'm just being honest because that's
Yeah,
what
we're
it
just
is.
completely being honest. So, like, when we were talking about, so let me ask Lone Star, when you spent your first $20,000 up front, what were you thinking?
Oh my god, that was close. What?
Yeah, when you're thinking, when you spend your first $20,000 to buy to buy a CAD engine kit to do my own rebuild, the first thing I'm thinking is, holy fuck, I'm spending a lot of money.
Right.
Pardon the language, but then I come to think about it. Well, hey, this $20,000 means, hey, once I'm done this 2 week project, my engine should be good for another million miles. So you
Right.
think about it at a dollar a mile net profit. that's going to make me $1 million because I just spent 20 grand.
Yeah, because I remember my first time when all of a sudden like that happened. I was like, "How much? Are you kidding me?" But like after a few years that I was in it, and then finally, when Carmen was the worst. I mean, she was like, "How much?" I mean, she was just off the wall. I mean, she
But
was just
but
cussing left and right when she ever heard the first maintenance bill, and I was just like, "Ugh, that's nothing. Who cares?"
it's nothing. It's no, because that thing about it is so like being like an owner operator also cuts into your life and relationship, whether it's you're looking for a girlfriend, whether you're married,
Right,
because the person that you're spending your life with or your time with, they have to understand and have the love for the trucking industry that
Mhm.
that you do,
right,
because because it's like if my ex did not grow up around the trucking industry, she would be like, "Holy shit, you just spent 40 grand on 2 truck engine kits. That could have bought a hell of a diamond ring."
yeah.
Right?
She
Right?
might just
Right?
had to wait another 2 years.
She might have had to wait another 2 years, but you don't get it. It's because it's because I spent the 40 grand on the truck. That's why for the next 4 years, you get your steak and lobster dinner every Friday night because the truck is paying for that.
Right.
That's true. That is true.
And I'm not saying you
There
have
was
to like I'm not saying you have to like steak and lobster. I'm just saying it as a hypothetical example. And that's what I try to do is I try to teach people like what me and Gary understand about the industry, because that's important for new people like yourself to get into it, to realize what's all involved before you
yeah.
take the plunge.
Yeah.
There's a lot, and I
And
mean it's like every day it's because like a few years ago I was gonna try closing the doors, and I don't know if you've ever tried Lone Star, but I tried to shut down and get out of trucking,
Yeah,
and believe it or not, it has you hook, line, and sinker. There's no
yeah,
yeah,
way
it
of
does.
getting out of it unless
It
you
yeah,
does.
die.
It does.
and
It's like
that's the
me.
thing. I've noticed that with this job. When I first started, it took almost a year for me to get used to the 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 culture shock, the whole entire different way of living. But when I took the 5 month break that I was forced to take, I was eager to get back into the seat after just 5 months being away. There was just I just there's something about it that's just relaxing for me. As much as I hate, I find this job very very fun for me to do. You know, also very challenging for me in certain aspects of it, but very rewarding at the same time.
Well,
Yeah,
for the thing between owner operators for like me and Lone Star compared to company guys, um, for us it's harder to get out of it being an owner operator than a company guy. At least in my opinion, because like for me, um, trying to get out of it as an owner operator and close the business down, no, it's literally hard. Company guys, once you quit it and walk away, you don't have the responsibilities like we do. Because you still got to pay the government, you still got to pay
Hmm.
all the taxes and everything due to the truck from that whole time you're in it.
Yeah.
So that's why it was very hard to get out of it as an owner operator. It literally dragged me back in, and I couldn't get out of it. And this was a good have been a couple years ago that I was about ready to drop out of it, but needless to say, it dragged us back in.
well, the difference is that becoming an owner operator, you've tied your whole life to the truck because you've worked in the companies in order to pay for your truck, versus you are a company driver. Your truck means nothing to you because it's just something you drive up and down the road every single day.
Yeah.
That's
It's funny.
so because of that, it makes it a lot harder to close shop, because if I were to think about closing shop, it's like my trucks, even though I still work at the shop, my trucks, if I were to physically get rid of them, I would turn around and have to pay all this money out for these trucks that I've already paid for. Plus,
Yep.
I'd miss seeing them every single day, or having the freedom to say, okay, if I want to go and drive something, because this load looks interesting, and do it, I can't do it anymore because I'm stuck into a company crop truck instead of my nice fancy truck
Yeah.
Right.
that's set up just for me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's your difference between being a lease purchase versus a finance truck. Um, a lot of lease purchase will limit it, the accessories that you buy the truck, companies you do business with, all that kind of stuff. Versus a finance truck, that's your truck, and as
Mm-hmm.
long as as long as you're improving the value of the truck, they don't really care.
Good point. So
There's that's why I basically say there's so much behind it, and that's why you've got to do your research and not be
yeah,
afraid of doing it.
that's where I'm like, I'm just not jumping the gun on anything until I do my due diligence. I ask questions, I talk to other people, I find out more information, and until I have what I feel like is a good amount of information for me to make a very good judgment on, I'm not pulling any trigger until I feel comfortable with it, you know.
Yep.
Well, the
And
one of the things, because okay, like I said, in 2013 is when I became an owner operator. Now, the company that I was with at the time where I became an owner operator, I thought like 95 cents per mile was pretty good, but that was actually pretty dumb on my part, being a first time owner operator. But I was only running roughly 5 states, anyways, between Wisconsin to Michigan and then back into Wisconsin or Minnesota. So,
mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like, it wasn't bad, but then all of a sudden, like the pay wasn't covering a lot of my costs, for repairs and this and that. And it was like, I was like almost taking home pocket change. And next thing
Oh.
you know, it's like, well, I'm going to leave this company. I told them, I was like, I got to leave. I was like, I ain't making no money. I was like, another company I was looking at, they were paying me $1.25 a mile. And it's like, well, why do you want to leave? I was like, I can't survive. I mean, it's like everything going on here, it's like, I figured, I'd progress with the company, being an owner operator, but it never happened. So I left, went to another carrier, signed on with them, and I was getting $1.25 a mile. And sooner or later, they were just starting to be arrogant pricks and everything else. So it was like, left them, came back to the same company, but though I was making $1.30 a mile because they matched it plus 5 cents, so I worked for them for a little bit until all of a sudden safety just got to be more of a pain in the butt, and so then I was looking at various companies for the company where we're at now and 2 other companies in the area,
Mm-hmm.
even down south of Milwaukee down there we were looking at, but we ended up staying up in Green Bay. And it was probably the thing that I was looking back on is like the way the thing with the company is now. I should have leased on with them years prior. I'd have been probably maybe near retirement, had everything the way I wanted set up, and probably maybe closer to near retirement, and then maybe able to retire by the age of 55, 60. But you know how things go.
But it's also people look at your pay per mile and don't look at what everything else is included. So
Right.
because there's a difference between signing up for $1.50 a mile and getting 100% fuel charge than signing up for $1.65 and getting zero. Or there's a difference between getting fuel at 75 cents a gallon or 79 cents a gallon versus getting fuel at pump price. There's all these different variables that you have to take into account. And that's why I've seen so many people go back and forth to the same company 4, 5, or 6 times. Because I've seen some drivers where they'll literally drive for one company for a year lease on to somebody else for 3 months, and then go back to the other company for 2 years and continue over and over again. Because people think grass is greener on the other side, but it can be or it can't be. It all depends on what the real truth of that company is.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
and the thing about it is, it's like, sure, like, it's like, look at somebody like Gary's situation. Sure, he's least purchasing a truck from a company, but it's a company he's happy with. It's a company he's spent a long time with. So he isn't afraid to do with it because he's made his decision that unless something goes seriously south, that's where he wants to stay for a long-term commitment.
Yeah, hopefully retire there.
Yeah,
Hopefully
that's what
not
I'm saying.
die on the road though.
But more what I mean though is like trucking companies sell out to other carriers all the time.
Right.
You and me see that. So as long as something like that doesn't happen or your management changes, that's a good company. So you're not afraid. You're not afraid to sacrifice a little bit to be where you're happy.
Right. That's what happened with U.S. Express. They got bought out. They got bought out by Knight Swift, and a lot of things changed at that company. Even though they kept the same name and almost the same operation, it was under new management all the way around. On the high end, like the higher ups all changed, and that people don't realize the amount of changes that happen at the higher up actually do come down over time to affect the driver as a person.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like I've seen companies change hands where they'll go, "Hey, we got the same company on the door. You're just going to be hauling our trailers, but hey,
Yeah.
this is the deal." And it's like, nah, I got to roll up shop and find a new option because I can't do this no more because I can't say yes to getting the same mileage pay and 50% fuel charge when I was getting 100 because that's what pays my mortgage at the end of the day was that I was making whatever because my truck was getting 6.5 miles per gallon. So because the fuel surcharge was set up in such a way that as long as I had a truck that was getting better than 5.5, uh, I'm making more profit. And that's the difference between, again, the different trucks and different manufacturers. It's like, yeah, you can buy a T680 or like a Cascadia that looks a little bit not as nice as like a big 389 or a W900, but does your 2 or 3 miles a gallon for your fuel economy that you lose really help you with the nicer truck? No, because that cuts into your profit.
Everything cuts into your profit, no matter how you look at it.
So it's like people go to me, well, how come you like the Lone Star up over like a hood truck, like a 389 or something? I'm like, because the Lone Star is good on fuel.
Aerodynamics is pretty good.
The handling of it's good, and hey, the 2 miles per gallon that I'm saving, that's what pays for a trip to somewhere warm every year.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Boy, today's been a long day.
Yeah.
Of just sitting, and yet there's another truck across from me that's with the same company. He has no trailer either. And I got a feeling that I'll be sitting all day tomorrow with no trailer either. So I'm already planning a 34-hour reset in my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, come Monday, when everybody comes back into the office, my dispatcher's going to call me and be like, "Hey, why aren't you moving? Oh, why don't you talk to the weekend crew who chose to sit me all weekend without a trailer? Because now you got to spend Monday morning looking for a trailer for me when I could have been rolling to a load."
Yeah.
And that's part of why I'm like, what's my next option here? Because it seems like every single weekend I'm sitting, and I don't like to be sitting when I have 30 hours left on my 70.
Well, that's the thing about it is. So again, like when you sign a lease purchase agreement with a company, and you're an owner operator, it's the same thing. You can still sit there waiting for trailers.
Yeah.
You can still do all that, and that's why I say to these guys that say, "Well, hey, like I have a good buddy of mine. He's from Texas, and he's like, well, hey, Snyder offered me this really good deal to be an owner operator. I'm like, dude, it was on a lease purchase. I'm like, dude, unless you spent all this time at the company and you know the in and outs of that company, signing that lease program purchase program
Right.
is like holding a gun to your head.
Yeah.
Now
Because
in Gary's
if I'm gonna finance a
case,
truck, I'm also finance a trailer, so I have a trailer with me at all times.
well, it's not even that. It's not even that. It's just when you're in Gary's situation, yeah, he's on lease purchase, but Gary's on lease purchase with a company that Gary knows
Yeah.
and has never caused Gary an issue. So the little bit of money that he loses, it doesn't really matter because he knows that he's secure at the end of every single day.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
And by the
company's
time
got,
that last payment is done on the truck, I know I'm getting a truck. There's no strings attached.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So I'm not talking bad about the lease purchase, but what I'm talking bad about is there's companies that literally like Snyder will use an SFI or JB Hunt or whatever will use SFI, and SFI will say, "Hey, at the end of your payment, you still got to come up with 50 grand,
Yep.
Yeah.
Balloon payment.
a
Yep.
balloon payment." So
And that's
basically,
a lot of money too.
so basically, so basically, by the time you figured it out, okay, is that if you would have signed up for if you would have signed up and drove for Swift for a year and saved up half your money and you went and bought your own truck, what that's costing you per month with the freedom of being able to jump is worth more than being at Swift as a lease purchase and paying them 50 grand at the end of the year, at the end of your 3-year term.
Right.
So the more you put down, the better off you are. So
Yeah,
I mean, if you're looking at a truck that's $100,000, to me, 25,000, 35,000 down helps you out big time.
yeah, no, it
Mhm.
does. It does. It helps you with the interest rates and stuff like that. But I was just being like hypothetically, you could do that in a year because as a company driver, you could make 75 grand in a year pretty easily and save half of that.
Mhm.
What's going on, Ed?
Makes sense.
Eating some chips.
So, anyway, guys, I'm
I'm just
gonna
on a
get off
2 minute
here.
break right now.
Uh, I'm gonna get
10
off
four,
and
Ed.
take a nap. So,
All
hope
right,
you guys
sounds
have a
good.
good afternoon.
Sounds good.
So,
Well, Lone
thank.
Star and me will probably take a break here, so we're gonna probably run a video in between here. So
Yeah,
definitely, I know Lone Star probably needs a break here and stuff. So
yeah,
we're gonna put a small little video in here. It's gonna be about the new K220 cab
yeah.
over in Australia. So if anybody needs to go to the bathroom, now's your time to go. And we'll be back in roughly about 7 minutes.
All right. Thank you for.
Jonathan Crawford from C&B Truck Centre, and I have with me this morning Noelle Parlier, the Chief Engineer from Kenworth, Australia, and she's here to introduce us to the new K220 product. This is one of our new validation models that's going on the road with one of our customers this morning. So you'd like to talk us through some of the features, Noelle?
Yeah, thanks so much for having us here. We're very excited with the new K220. We're going to start at the very top. One of the things that we wanted to change about the K220 is make sure that it's very aerodynamic. You know, it is a big square, so what could we do is we could pull the roof forward, the forehead of the roof forward, get rid of the vista window so that you don't have all that heat coming into the interior of the cab when you don't want it. Streamline the airflow on the hood to the back of the, through the sleeper to the front of the trailer, and that gets about a 4%, 5% aerodynamic improvement of the airflow, which is roughly around 2% fuel economy improvement. So huge benefit there. And then when we jump inside, you'll also see that it gives a lot more room for the driver on the interior as well. And then coming down on the truck, the grille is also another big feature. We wanted to make a statement with the grille, make it look very strong, bold. We've updated the mesh. We've gone from the mesh to punched aluminum grille, and it does look very similar. We brought the truck in line with our 610 product. It's a very similar grille, just to make sure that it's part of the family of Kenworths here in Australia. So we have new LED headlights that we've introduced on this model. It does have the indicator integrated into the headlight, so that there's no need to have one separated out. So coming around to the side, John, we have chassis mounted steps now. So we've taken them from being mounted to the cab to separate mounting. That allows us to put more strength into the step so that we don't, if there's any side debris that takes out the step, we don't damage any of the fiberglass on the cab itself. That allows us to have very nice, strong egress and ingress as the driver gets in and out of the truck. Make sure that everything's nice and safe and sturdy.
Tell me about the cockpit of the truck here, Noel.
Yeah, so you'll notice we really wanted to make sure that the driver feels like they're in control of the vehicle, they're very comfortable. So we really focused on the driver, the cockpit for the driver. So one of the big changes that we've done is we've introduced a 15-inch digital display. And this gives all the information to the driver when they need it. So for example, it says Hill Start Assist is disabled. So the driver will know that. It's very clear what's going on with the truck. They can keep their eyes on the road, their mind on the job itself, and then let the truck tell them what they need to know when they need to know it. The steering wheel has been updated so that it controls the display. So very easily the driver can go to what we would call a dark mode. Normally, if there was nothing wrong with the truck, you would only see the speedometer in this mode, but because there's low air pressure, as well as the truck's stopped and the coolant temperature is low, that information is available for the driver. So even if they had nothing of the gauges selected, that information would still show the driver. And then just using the controls here, they can add even more information, as well as go into a favorite slide where they can customize completely how this looks. Then they have ability to change the settings. They can customize their view. They get their trip summary. They get all of the truck information easily accessible at their fingertips. This truck is also an automatic truck, and we've gotten rid of the Cobra shifter here to allow more room for the driver access into the back of the truck. And the controls now, the DNR, the drive, neutral, reverse controls, are located right here on the stock mounted shifter, as well as engine brake selection. So you can select the different levels of engine brake all the way down to max mode very easily with keeping your fingers on the wheel and just easily moving that up and down just to select different levels of engine brake required.
And manual selection for the transmission as well?
And manual selection right here is forward, back.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, for hill descent.
And then manual, for hill descent, and manual automatic is controlled. The selection is on a button on the end, and then it frees up this control.
Fantastic.
We also have a new HVAC system. It's almost double the amount of airflow that you would have from the current K200. That was one of the feedbacks we got from the drivers, was that they really wanted to improve the HVAC system. So we focused a lot from a design standpoint on that. It's a completely new system with control strategy here. It does have climate control, so you can set the temperature you want and forget about it. Just one less thing for the driver to have to worry about, and we want them to be comfortable in the cab as they operate the truck. All of the switches are within easy access of the driver.
Yep.
So we have a very ergonomical layout of the switches. We have new area for drinks, as well as for those with newer iPhones, we do have a charging pad, wireless charging pad, so it's hand-free charging. Just to keep, and then it's also tied into the AVN display so that you don't have to be on your phone, but you can answer calls, make calls, select music, everything from the AVN that's attached to your phone as well. One of the advantages of having this technology available to the driver is really to make their life easier. And so with a flip of a switch here, we can run diagnostic check at the start of the day, the end of the day, whenever a driver feels the need to do that. The system will check 12 different systems on the truck and then give a report out to the driver of the health of those systems. So it's we're already at 6 systems now. It will also activate all of the lights externally, so the driver can flip the switch, do their drive around, walk around to make sure that they're checking all the lights are functioning correctly, and then come back in and have a report out on the health of the truck. And you see we have no problems here.
No issues. Yep.
And if there were issues, again, this control is going deeper into that information to explore what issues there are, fault codes, what action needs to be taken. We've also improved the storage. So I mentioned earlier from the outside that we've pulled the forehead of the truck forward, which gives a lot more headroom for the driver. There's about 3 times as much storage as what's currently available on the K200 model.
Yes.
We've also put reinforced reinforced cabinets here that you can actually hang on these cabinets and use it to help yourself get around as a handle. And then we also have a lot of different options for storage in the rear. So this is just one of the options. We have back wall storage. We have for a 2.8 cab, you would have stand-up storage, more of like a traditional closet. So just many different options for storage, making sure that the driver can set up the vehicle like their home. For this truck, we've really made a lot of improvements for the driver. We've focused on what's important to them. So one is more room in the cab, a better layout, a dash that gives them information that they need to know when they need to know it. New safety design features, for example, better egress, ingress, better a fusion system that helps with emergency braking. All of those types of software improvements have been rolled into this truck model.
Well, thank you, Noel, for coming across here and running us through the new features on this fantastic new product. So K220, terrific truck.
Oh, thanks, Jono. We really hope the customers love it as much as we do.
I'm sure they will.
Well, I think the only thing I didn't like was the color.
That's what I said.
I mean, if it would have been a little bit better color, I think I probably would have thought, ooh, look at that. Ed, what's going on with you today? You there? I think he froze. You all refreshed up, Lone Star?
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, hard to believe we were already into almost 3.5 hours already of just discussions already.
Thing about his discussions, you can have them literally for 3 days.
Oh, days or a week long. If you got more people that came in on a nonstop, I think we probably could have ran a 24-hour marathon.
Yeah. Yeah,
You'd
but
probably be in bed. The next set of people would come in and talk about something, and definitely keep it going.
Yep. And that's why I say the number one thing about the trucking industry is doing your research and doing what you see is right.
Right.
Because it's like last year I drove I just rode up in Manitoba from Manitoba and in there to all the different food for the First Nations community. People go, well, hey, you're nuts. I'm like, nah. I'm like, I grew up there, so I'm used to that.
Yeah, Dan's pretty well right. I know how to just keep yapping.
Me too.
Well, we all know Dan loves taters. He's expressed it.
Yeah. Who doesn't love
It's
taters?
good to see you too. But yeah, for a lot of us that been in trucking for a long time, it's we always get, of course, Lone Star, you've been in with the live streams. You've heard a lot of people always ask, tons of questions, and I always just stay true to them because I don't want to give misleading information, and I sure as heck don't want to give out the false information. And if I don't know nothing about it, I'll definitely either ask somebody that will know that information that somebody seeks, or I'll just honestly say I can't give you an honest opinion because I don't know nothing about it. But it would have been nice too today to had IRL Trucker Bandit in here today, because I mean a lot of people would have got to learn a lot of things other than with Canada, US, and the UK of how like our hours of service and everything else is, which I think that's probably going to be a future discussion, hopefully again later on down the road.
Yeah.
So we'll probably think about redoing another truckers panel hopefully soon. I think Ed, you're froze up again.
Yeah.
He's like,
wow, the truckers panel is something you could pick a day. You could pick a day a month and you could do it, and you still never run out of info because there's all different things that you could talk about.
Yeah. Also, Queen, Heavy Racing Queen, we did talk to GTA Capone. He didn't think he had the computer to be able to join us. So he was not able to make it. He did let us know yesterday. And so otherwise we would have had GTA Capone on here as well. But
Yeah.
we wanted to have GTA Capone, and also we wanted to have Bandit on here. And needless to say, Bandit tried to get on here and wasn't able to get something connected because of something with OBS. But we've definitely reached out to GTA Capone. We explained to him everything about it and how this all works. And then we also explained it to Bandit. So unfortunately, they weren't able to make it with us today. And it would have been a really great conversation. I think probably, and then end up being other than 3 hours and 31 minutes, I think this probably would have been maybe a 5 hour stream today. So, but
Yeah, because the thing about it is like Canada, the U.S., North America, other than Mexico, our trucking systems are all very much the same.
right,
It's more the difference is the government regulations
right,
and the federal regulations behind it. You know, like your taxes and stuff like that. But they're all interconnected.
right, right.
But it's still interesting to talk about because a lot of like the American guys, you know, they've never experienced Canada or the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to inform about it because it's something you always wonder, even though you know it's not for you, unless somebody's going to throw a whole pile of money at you.
Right, right, right. Ed, what are you up to today? Put you on the spotlight. I think he's probably in a bad. Ed, you in a bad area or what?
I'm in
Yeah, I
Illinois
think he's
right
in a
now
bad
at a rest area.
Are you taking a 30-minute or are you done for the day?
In my 30-minute break, I'm just taking a 30-minute and it's almost over with. So
All
I
right.
better
Well,
hit
no
the
worries,
road
Ed.
again.
No worries, Ed. No worries. Well, just be safe on the road out there
Yep.
and stuff, and we'll catch you next
Yep.
time. Otherwise, if you pop out, we'll understand why.
Sure will.
But all right, well, we're probably gonna start winding this definitely down and stuff because we gotta go someplace today. But I want to thank everybody in the chat today who joined us, and I definitely want to thank everybody up that came up on panel. Lone Star, my brother, Ed the trucker. We had Semi Ernie also today. I want to thank all of them, all my brothers and sisters that are out there on the road. Definitely be safe out there. We definitely move the world, and everyone be safe out there. So we're gonna shut this down, and well, catch a lot of you. We'll be live again back on Sunday. For many of you that are in YouTube, we've moved over pretty much to Twitch. You can definitely check us out on Twitch. Same name, Interstate Travel Crew, and that is where we are at. So, like a lot of times when we broadcast onto the YouTube, we definitely do shut off the chat in there, but we are letting you guys know that we are definitely still around. We are still hauling. We are up, still doing our thing up in the Midwest and all. So definitely we'll get everything all in there for everybody that's on Twitch. If you want to get the links in there quickly, we'll get the links in there. What we'll do is we'll play another video here quick of something while we're getting those Twitch family links in here. So we're going to take you across seas for the interior of a new 2023 Volvo F16. So we'll watch that in the meantime here while we're getting the Twitch family links all out into for the Twitch family.
Yeah, it's quite the truck.
Yeah, it is a nice truck.
I still always say I'd buy a nice cab over.
Well, you know, I was actually doing some research on these while I was trying to find some more videos for this for today, and it's like the safety standards on these trucks have came around a lot since then.
Yep.
Because I mean, I even found videos of everything for what the U.S. version was compared to this version, and I mean, there's no comparison.
Nah. The US version is the and one thing I real like the Europeans are big on safety, and that's why I'm surprised we don't see more of their trucks over here.
Yes.
And that's what I think is going to happen in the evolution of trucking, because you already see it in the automotive industry. A lot of the European cars have already came over.
Yep. Yep.
But I feel like that's a big. It's just going to be a matter of time, and it's going to be a matter of changes, and it's going to be a matter of how it's taken, because a lot of the old school truckers and stuff like that, they're not big on the European stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I said at 5 o'clock. I got to go out for dinner for my mother because it's 76th birthday. So
Oh, well, happy birthday. You gonna
her
be back
birthday,
out on the road like we are tomorrow?
yeah,
Well,
more
you
than
safe
likely,
travels.
yeah, because her birthday's on Friday, but I figured it's Good Friday, so
Right.
nothing's gonna be open. So I said I'll take you out today.
All right. Well, if you've got to head on out, Lone Star, we understand. We don't want you to
Yeah.
be late.
Oh, you're good. I just thought I'd come and hang out with you. So
Well, it's great that you
thanks for
did.
everything.
It's very great that you did.
No problem. Safe travels, brother.
Yeah, you too. Definitely indeed. And we're getting ready to shut her down a little bit here once we get all the Twitch family channels in there. Like I said, thanks everybody. Semi Ernie, Lone Star Trucking, Double A Trucking, Ed the Trucker. Thank you all for today's joining in on that. It's great to have you and see a lot of you. Hopefully we'll do this again soon, later on down the road. Hopefully we'll get a lot more drivers in. Indeed. Kind of surprised this one doesn't have a better thing on it. That thing's froze up. No tater salad tonight. What? Thanks, Viking. What's up, yard gnome? That's okay, Lynn. That's all right. We'll be shutting it down for him here shortly. Dan for Lone Star. I might stream some ATS sometime soon. Copy that. We're finishing up, Yard Gnome. We just got done doing a panel discussion amongst drivers. Some of the drivers didn't make it today, which we kind of figured was going to happen, but we're getting ready to shut it down. No worries, Viking. No worries. No worries. But we're about ready to shut her down. As soon as we get the rest of the Twitch family links. Well, you need to wake up sooner, Yard Gnome. Y'all are great. Much love. That's right. Thank you, Lone Star, for that. Yeah, you all have been great. Definitely much love to everybody out there. Definitely indeed. Every one of you. But like I said, for a lot of those that are on YouTube, to catch us on our live streams, we are on Twitch. So definitely look up Interstate Travel Crew on Twitch. Thanks everybody from Ernie's group and everybody else at LinkedIn. See, you already know him. You're not on the Discord. That's why. You would have got the memo. We shouldn't have too many left. Let's check over here. Yeah, we're winding it down. Get info from a mechanic that works on trucks. Hopefully next time we'll get you up here, Yard Gnome. We got a couple more yet to go, I think, and then we should be done. That's right. I do both work on them and drive. Take care, Rick. Catch us out on Twitch. All right, we're going to start narrowing down the channels. Thanks, everybody over on Ernie's. Everyone have a great day. You want to grab my jacket and everything? Huh? My snowmobile jacket. Huh? All right. Give me a couple minutes. I'll be done. Caveman. Long time no see. Yes, indeed. We're on Twitch, Caveman. All right, we're going to get ready to shut it down. I don't know how many channels are left to post, but we're going to shut her down. So, all right, everybody, we got to get going and stuff. Take care. Thanks, everybody, again. Like I said, thanks, Lone Star, Ed the Trucker, AA Trucking, Ernie, everybody that joined us today. Yes, you got to get Twitch. Same name, Interstate Travel Crew on Twitch. For a lot of you that don't know, that is where we are streaming mainly to. Good night, everybody, in Twitch, YouTube land, Twitter, and everywhere else that we're streaming to today. Have a great night, everybody. We